Chronicles of the Stellar Mecha War. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176 Dive. Yu Guangli had said before that the mecha would go into the sea. But before officially going into the sea, the air tightness, pressure resistance, and other data of the mecha in the water must be tested. Only after ensuring the safety of the internal driver, the next step of operation was dared. It is said that it is for testing, but it is impossible to go into the sea directly. So at the beginning, it was in a special deep water swimming pool. Lin Fan was taught to swim by Song Ren. Although it was an ugly dog paddle, it could float up after all, but the technique was average. Compared with her, Xingchen was much more comfortable in the water. After knowing that Xingchen's breathing in the water was not restricted, Lin Fan felt relaxed from the mentality, making Xingchen, who originally sank to the bottom of the water, later in the water like a live fish, floating up and down and diving uncomfortably. Compared with Xingchen, the other mechas were much more difficult. The first is a problem of the mecha's own weight. Because the mecha itself weighs 300 kilograms, and the internal structure is mostly high density metal, it sank to the bottom of the water. Fortunately, there was no problem with the internal, closed structure of the mecha, and there was no water seepage. In the water, it is basically impossible to move freely by the buoyancy of the mecha. However, a new propulsion system has been installed. After it is turned on, the direction can be controlled by twisting the body angle. After a few days of practice, the four people quickly mastered the skills of controlling the direction and were able to move freely in the water. The closed water pressure test has also been completed. Because of the support of 818, the theoretical water pressure resistance data of the bionic armor can reach 70 atmospheres. But this is only theoretical data, and the actual diving situation depends on it. In addition to water pressure, air tightness and oxygen content are also important data. Everything is ready. Choosing a sunny day, the 623 people borrowed the transport plane of the next door flight base, and pulled Fu Guang and other 4 mechas and Lin Fan, and others to a naval base. Then they borrowed the route of a certain warship, and arrived at the deep sea area of the inland sea. Such a test must inevitably avoid the shipboard soldiers on the warship. Cui Yan solved these problems as early as when coordinating the itinerary. The 4 mechas are on tightly covered ships, and outsiders cannot see the situation inside. When they arrived at the designated location, all the staff on the deck evacuated. Only the captain and 4 first mates were left on the command tower, watching the deck below. They were insiders, and in order to prevent accidents, they had to keep an eye on the whole process. The moment the canvas was unveiled, the knowledgeable captain and his crew couldn't help but study it. Before, I was still thinking about it like Iron Man, but I didn't expect the real thing to be much better looking. The first mate took a telescope and looked at the details carefully. Has our technology developed to this point? The captain was also surprised. Who knows? Anyway, it's hard for me to imagine it without seeing this. Another first mate was also watching. Fu Guang and the others were lying on a flatbed truck, which was transported upside down. After removing the canvas, Song Ren directly turned on the Xinglan system, entered from the back, and climbed up by himself. Hey, look. It's much more flexible than I thought. First mate C also looked through the telescope. Yes, it seems to be no different from a real person. It's amazing. First mate Ding nodded in agreement. The staff of 623 were busy setting up equipment on the deck and tying safety ropes for the 4 mechas. The other end of the safety rope was connected to an electric winch. If something happened below, the winch could be turned on to pull the people in the sea up at the fastest speed. Oh, didn't they say there were 5 mechas to be tested? Why are there only 4? First mate B became more and more concerned. Is it 5? Or did I remember it wrong? Yes, I also remember it was 5. Look, there are 5 winches. First mate A replied, there is one that hasn't come out yet. After everyone in 623 was ready, Lin Fan came out of the cabin and asked the staff to tie a safety rope for her. Look, isn't it coming out? First mate C found Xingchen and reminded the others, it looks a little smaller. It is a little smaller, and the rope she tied, the winch is much larger than the other 4 mechas. First mate D observed equally carefully. As they spoke, the 5 mechas all went into the water, splashing water, and soon disappeared on the sea. The experience in the sea is different from that in the swimming pool. Not only is the illumination different, but the buoyancy is also different. Because of the high salinity, the buoyancy of seawater is greater than that of the clear water in the swimming pool, so the sinking speed was faster in the swimming pool before. This did not hinder Xingqian, but it obviously affected Fu Guang and the others. After Lin Fan discovered it, he quickly sank at the same speed as the others. The lower he went, the darker the light became. The seawater went from clear to dim. The sky seemed to be very far away, and Lin Fan felt that the atmosphere became a little quiet as the surrounding environment changed. Are you all okay? How do you feel about the water pressure? Yu Guangli asked in the headset. Xingqian feels good. Lin Fan felt it for a while, and didn't feel anything special. Fu Guang feels good. There is no obvious sense of oppression. Song Ren's voice also sounded from the headset. At this time, they belonged to the same channel, and could hear each other's voices. Jingang feels good. There is no obvious sense of oppression. Li Chunhua's voice also came, sounding very excited. Yu Feng feels good, with a slight sense of oppression, no obvious discomfort. Gao Fen's voice sounded immediately. Binglan feels good, no obvious sense of oppression. Ji Yu's voice also sounded. Because Gao Fei felt the pressure, Yu Guangli paid special attention to his situation. After confirming that there was no problem, the group continued to dive. How deep is it now? Lin Fan asked directly, because there was no screen in front of her. More than 160 meters. Song Ren replied. The light in front of her was getting dimmer and dimmer, and the number of fish swimming around was also decreasing. Every once in a while, Yu Guangli would ask the group about their feelings. The answers were basically the same, that they all felt good, and had no obvious sense of pressure. Only Gao Fei's Yu Feng, who didn't know what was wrong, always felt more oppressive than the others. When they were more than 300 meters deep, except for Lin Fan, everyone else felt a certain sense of pressure, but none of them felt obvious discomfort. At this time, if there was no protection from the Mecha, this pressure could severely compress the human internal organs and even burst them. Xingqian didn't feel anything at all. Li Chunhua was curious. No feeling. Lin Fan felt it carefully and replied. No feeling. Yu Guangli's voice came. No sense of pressure at all. Xingqian's condition was different from the other 4 people, and it also needed special attention. No. Lin Fan felt it carefully again, and then said, I feel very comfortable. It's like I'm a sea fish. Although this description is too understated, it vividly makes people understand Xingqian's current feelings. Although the biological Mecha is a living Mecha with tactile sense, its performance is obviously much better than that of the bionic Mecha. Continue to dive. Yu Guangli continued to give orders. Only more than 10 minutes have passed, and they still have room for testing. Chapter 177 Deep Sea. The people on the deck could observe the scene in front of the driver through the camera inside the Mecha. As the depth of the dive increased again and again, almost nothing could be seen on the screen. Only the eyepiece in the field of vision was lit, emitting a bright light. At this time, the diving depth had reached more than 600 meters. Are you okay? Yu Guangli asked. How is Yu Feng? Gao Fei had already felt a very obvious sense of oppression inside the Mecha, but others said it was okay. Seeing that Gao Fei did not respond, Yu Guangli asked again, and especially reminded, don't force yourself. If you are uncomfortable, then you are uncomfortable. Yu Feng must have some defects that we have not noticed. I suggest you come up first. Go up. Ji Yu said from the side. The diving pressure will be higher if you continue to dive. If Yu Feng has structural problems, then it will be very risky for you to continue going down. Gao Fei, go up. Song Ren ordered directly. There will be many opportunities like this in the future. There is no need to fight for your life. Go up, Gao Fei. Don't let us worry about you. Li Chunhua also spoke. Lin Fan swam directly to Yu Feng. She looked through the eyepiece. Gao Fei's face was tense, and he seemed to be in a very bad state. Team leader Yu, pull him up. Lin Fan said directly in the intercom. He looks very bad. He can't go down anymore. Got it. Yu Guangli immediately ordered to start the winch of Yufeng. Gao Fei was quickly pulled out of the sight of several people. Although he was unwilling, he also knew that it was meaningless to insist. In fact, he could not move much. At this point, he could only cooperate to start the push assist and go up as soon as possible. After watching Gao Fei leave, Lin Fan confirmed one by one that the remaining 3 people were in good condition and the group continued to go down. After entering the sea for about half an hour, the depth of sinking was more than 700 meters. Yu Guangli issued an order to let the 3 drivers of the bionic armor go up first. Why? I feel okay. Although there is a sense of oppression, I don't feel very uncomfortable. Li Chunhua was a little unhappy. Before waiting for the reply from above, Ji Yu's answer came first. Look at the oxygen meter. Li Chunhua saw that the oxygen was almost half full. If they continued to go down, the oxygen they carried might not be enough for the return trip. Unlike on land, there is plenty of oxygen in the sea, and the oxygen capacity carried by the Mecha itself is fixed. The few people had no choice but to prepare to return. Because there was no malfunction like Yufeng, the 3 of them could move independently. In order to test the propulsion function, they did not use a winch to pull them up, but let them float up on their own. Lin Fan, you have to be careful. Although the few people were worried, they also knew that there was nothing they could do about this situation. They slowly rose up, leaving Xingchen in place, the white shell vaguely reflecting the light in the seawater, and the stars disappeared in the darkness. After the few people left, only Xingchen was left in the dark deep sea. Lin Fan seemed to be able to hear his own breathing again, deafening in his ears. Xingchen, how do you feel? Everyone on the deck also heard Lin Fan's obviously increased breathing, and the sudden deep breathing did not seem to be a good thing. It's okay, it's just too dark, and suddenly everyone left, a little bit. Lin Fan smiled and didn't finish. Then Yu Guangli wanted to say, do you want to come up first? But Lin Fan spoke again before he finished. Then I'll go down, faster, okay. Lin Fan knew that the purpose of this dive was to test the ability to withstand pressure and the limit of the diving depth. Without waiting for the answer from above, she fell down quickly. Originally, she had to accommodate the speed of the other people and always went slowly. Now she was the only one left, and there was no need to worry about the speed. So fast, the staff on the deck exclaimed. The small dots representing the stars sank into the deep sea at a very fast speed. From the star eyepiece, only many white microorganisms were seen retreating rapidly under the green fluorescence. Ouch. Suddenly, Lin Fan shouted, and the small dots representing the stars on the screen also stopped moving. What's wrong? Someone on the deck asked. I hit the ground. Lin Fan rushed down with her head held high. When she saw the flat ground in front of her, it was too late to brake, and she could only crash straight into it. It didn't hurt, because she was in the water and the ground was covered with fine sand and other things. Lin Fan just shouted subconsciously. Ground? It shouldn't have reached the bottom of the sea yet, right? Yu Guangli asked the crew member next to him. What's the depth of Xingchen now? More than 2,300 meters. It shouldn't have reached the bottom of the sea. This seabed should be more than 3,000 meters deep. She may have reached the full part. The crew member replied. There were large ripples on the water surface. It was Yufeng who came up. Some people were busy pulling Yufeng. Gao Fei was in a bad condition and had no way to get on the deck by himself. Fortunately, there was a hoisting device on the ship. A group of people worked hard and finally pulled Yufeng up. When Gao Fei got off the plane, he almost couldn't stand. He was helped to take off his helmet. His face was pale and his hair was all wet and stuck to his scalp. Hurry up and sit down. The person next to him wanted to help him go to the side to rest, but he waved his hand to refuse. Go over there. Gao Fei was worried about his companions in the water and wanted to go to the control console to pay attention to the latest situation. Yu Guangli didn't stop him. He asked someone to put a lounge chair next to him and let Gao Fei sit in front of the screen. Lin Fan, what's going on with you now? Yu Guangli had no time to pay attention to Gao Fei, and his attention returned to the people on the seabed. I'm at the bottom, walking, looking around. Lin Fan had never seen what the seabed looked like, and it was his first time walking on the seabed, and he felt fresh. Can you still bear the pressure? Yu Guangli asked again. No special feeling. Lin Fan replied, it's just dark everywhere, and I can't see clearly. When Xingqian's eyes light up, they can emit green light for a distance in the dark. But the black seabed absorbs light too much, and the visual distance is not very far, and you can only see about 2 meters in front. Be careful and stay alert. Yu Guangli was a little worried, but he didn't dare to say more, for fear of scaring her. Lin Fan was still a little scared, but after walking for a distance, he found that there was nothing, and it was empty everywhere, so he slowly let go of his courage. On the screen, everyone also saw a large area of the seabed that looked like a desert through Xingqian's perspective. That's not right, there shouldn't be nothing on the seabed. A researcher felt strange. It's too deep, this is already in the deep sea area, there are not many creatures. Someone said, is this the deep sea area? Gao Fei frowned. Yes, it's more than 2,300 meters. Yu Guangli replied. Then, Gao Fei didn't dare to continue. He had heard, since he was very young, that in the deep sea where you can't see your hand in front of you, there are many deep sea monsters that ordinary people can't see. Those, do they really exist? Chapter 178 Escape. Lin Fan walked alone for a long time down there and could not see anything except the white sand. It was not a good idea to just walk like this. It was a bit scary to be alone in the dark and boundless environment for a long time. She was thinking about applying to go up, and then she saw that the front seemed to be different, and it seemed to be able to see white. Hey, what do I see? There is a wall. After Lin Fan approached, she actually found a white wall. The wall was mottled and rough, not smooth, and not high, more than 3 meters, but not more than 4 meters. Is it a rock layer in the sea? The researchers on the deck gathered in front of the screen to discuss. No, it looks like a wall. Lin Fan floated to the top of the wall and found that the wall was quite thick, winding and curling into the dark sea water, and the two ends could not be seen. Let me see what else is ahead. After finally seeing something on the seabed, Lin Fan also became interested, and she walked forward along the white wall. It was unknown where this wall led to. Lin Fan walked dozens of meters and still couldn't see the end. How long will it take to get here? The same ground, the same wall. After walking for a long time, it still seemed like he was in the same place. Why don't I just go up? Lin Fan looked at the white wall in front of her that was disappearing into the darkness, and she had lost interest in it. She said to the intercom. She thought about going up, and she didn't look at the wall carefully like before. She looked left and right, waiting for the notification to float in the headset. Yu Guangli was about to agree to her to go up, but suddenly saw something different on the wall. Lin Fan, look behind you. Is there a bulge? Lin Fan turned around, and sure enough, a bulge as big as a wash basin appeared on the wall not far ahead. She leaned over to take a closer look. Except for the bulge and the regular shape of the wall, there was nothing special at all. Nothing special. Lin Fan still relied on the invincible attribute of the star and touched it with her hand. After waiting for a while, nothing happened. Team leader Yu, how about I? She lost her patience and was about to apply for floating again when she saw that the semicircular bulge seemed to move. Lin Fan was stunned and she wondered if she had seen it wrong. Did you see it? Just now, that place seemed to move. Yes, it moved. Everyone on the deck saw it clearly. Yu Guangli suppressed his panic and said calmly, Lin Fan, come up immediately. As soon as he finished speaking, the semicircle in front of Lin Fan's eyes suddenly lifted a layer of membrane, like an eyelid, revealing the white substance inside. It was round in shape, dead white, and without any luster. This is an eye. Even though he couldn't see the pupil and color, Lin Fan still realized that it was an eye. Then the wall she had been walking around was not a wall at all. I don't know if the white eyes saw Xingqian, and after opening, they didn't move. Lin Fan didn't dare to move, and the people on the deck held their breath, fearing that they would alarm the unknown creatures in front of Xingqian. Song Ren and the other two rushed out of the sea and returned to the deck. What they saw was the frozen picture of everyone. What's wrong? He felt that something was wrong. The staff hurried up to remove the safety rope for them and quickly raised their mouths. When Ji Yu heard this, he didn't even have time to take off the rope and ran to Yu Guangli in a few steps. Let Lin Fan run. Deep sea creatures just can't see light for a long time and their eyes have degenerated. In theory, they can sense light. As we all know, Xingqian's eyes will continue to emit green light. Gao Fei took the microphone before Guangli and shouted, "Run." But it was too late. The moment Lin Fan wanted to get up, the seawater churned up, and all the fine sand that had quietly sunk to the bottom of the sea was lifted up. The white wall, oh no, the monster's body moved upward and swung, and the water flow was as chaotic as a tornado. Lin Fan didn't pay attention, and was swept around by the water flow for several circles. Indistinctly, the white dead fish eyes slowly rose, revealing the long mouth hidden under the sand, with 2 rows of fine and sharp teeth on it. Everyone saw this scene on the screen, and couldn't help but shudder. Li Chunhe even wanted to meet Lin Fan, but was stopped by Song Ren. Not to mention, that they couldn't go down to such a deep sea. From the perspective of strength, if Xingqian couldn't escape, they would be sending food if they went. From the rapidly rotating screen, everyone saw a huge white wall-like body surrounding them. Lin Fan, run. Li Chunhe exited the Mecha, rushed to the control panel, and pushed Yu Guangli aside. But no one cared about these details at this time. Lin Fan tried her best to stabilize her body in the huge torrent, but it was impossible to get rid of such a large-scale turbulence. Seeing the huge monster behind her catching up, she could only rush forward. Go up, Lin Fan. Go up. You are going down now. Li Chunhe jumped anxiously. It was already a deep sea. If you go further down, it is hard to say whether you will encounter any strange things. Now you can't handle one monster, and if there are more, you will not stop. The winch on the deck turned quickly, and soon the rope was pulled to the end, and the ship was pulled and moved. Lin Fan, who was eager to escape in the deep sea, felt the restraint and thought about untying the fixed rope buckle. But the more anxious she was, the more confused she became. Seeing the monster getting closer and closer, she had no choice but to tear the rope apart and continue running. The ship did not move further, which made everyone feel relieved. But seeing Lin Fan, who was in a panic and had no choice but to choose a way out because of the safety rope, shortening the distance between him and the monster, everyone was very anxious. Don't disturb her. Gu also withdrew from the Mecha, pushed Li Chunhe aside, quickly analyzed the situation, and calmly turned on the microphone. Sister Lin, this is Gu. You are escaping in the wrong direction. Don't go down anymore. I can't tell the direction now. Lin Fan ran up, but it was pitch black all around. Who knew which was which? I know. Don't panic. I'll guide you in the right direction. Gu's calmness made the staff next to him wake up, and they quickly returned to their positions to analyze the data, and then fed back to Gu. Yu Guangli saw that he could not help for the time being, so he hurried to the command tower to report to the captain. If Lin Fan could escape successfully, but brought the monster to the shallow sea, it would undoubtedly be a big trouble. We need to prepare follow-up measures. Gu calmly guided Lin Fan in the direction. But because of the monster's pursuit, he usually couldn't follow his instructions. Xingqian was running around on the seabed and just wouldn't come up. Gu patiently helped her correct the direction little by little, and then guided her back to the ship area. Yu Guangli just came with news that the anti-aircraft guns on the ship were in place. As long as the monster entered the shooting range, the attack would start immediately. But Lin Fan had to lure it over. Li Chunhe and Gao Fei, one was holding the monitoring desk and the other was sitting in a rocking chair, not daring to blink. Song Ren was still in Fuguang, not getting off the plane, standing behind and watching. Is the direction right? Lin Fan's heart was beating. When escaping at a rapid speed, she couldn't help but feel weak in her hands and feet. Running away was completely a physical instinct. Is it still following me? She saw a turbid mass behind her from the corner of her eye, and she didn't dare to look at it more, for fear of being caught up. The direction is right, just rush up. Gu's calm voice somewhat soothed Lin Fan's anxious heart. It's still following you, and the radar shows that the distance is very close. You'd better go faster. I want to go faster too. Lin Fan wanted to cry, but I feel I can't control it. My whole body is numb now, and I feel like I'm not controlling the stars now. Her slackness brought her closer to the monster behind her, and she was so scared that she dared not speak anymore, and she was focused on rushing up. Gu thought that the deep sea creature would stop chasing after leaving the deep sea area, but she didn't expect it to keep biting Lin Fan. Seeing that it was coming up soon, she could only inform the command tower and let the anti-aircraft guns prepare. Lin Fan watched the light above her head getting stronger and brighter, and the sea surface was in front of her. The mouth of the monster behind her was already at her feet, and she would be in trouble if she was a little slower. The strong desire to survive forced her to control the stars and rush hard, and suddenly jumped out of the sea. Then a huge white monster with a long mouth jumped out from the sea. It opened its mouth wide, revealing its sharp teeth, and chased after Xingqian to bite him. Chapter 179 Escape. Freed from the resistance of the seawater, Xingqian leaped high. Before the people on the deck had time to be happy, they saw a huge white body rushing out of the sea. Its mouth was wide open next to Xingqian's feet, and its speed was not slow at all. In the blink of an eye, Xingqian's legs and feet were already within his biting range. It seemed to know that its prey was in its mouth, and it closed its huge mouth with force. The people on the deck couldn't help but exclaim. Fortunately, Lin Fan had mastered his flying ability under Song Ren's training some time ago. After escaping from the sea and identifying the direction, he quickly found the familiar sense of control and broke free with an acceleration. Everyone on the deck breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Xingqian got out of the water in time. If it was 1 or 2 seconds later, she might have been bitten. After all, the monster was a deep sea creature. It could still dominate in the water. After it came out of the water, it was like a salted fish. After losing its initial upward momentum and failing to bite its prey, the monster was affected by gravity and fell to the sea surface. Pa pa pa. Intensive gunfire sounded. Seeing that the monster had lost its ability to move, the captain ordered to open fire without hesitation. Lin Fan turned around after hearing the sound. She saw that the monster that had just chased her and made her run away with her head in her hands was still in the air, and its huge body was shot into a sieve, revealing the pink and white tissue inside. The most serious part was almost broken, leaving only a piece of bone connected, and in the blink of an eye, it was deader than dead. The people on the deck, who didn't have time to avoid it, were splashed with some broken tissues, and they didn't have time to feel sick. The monster fell into the sea, splashing huge waves, and splashed them all over. Almost everyone was soaked and smelled salty. Fortunately, the equipment was well protected and not damaged. Lin Fan landed on the deck, her feet softened, and she fell directly. She was also exhausted, so she lay down, looking at the clear sky, and breathing slowly. "Are you okay?" The people from 623 surrounded her. Lin Fan shook her head. At this moment, she didn't even want to say anything. This was the first time she encountered such a life and death crisis. The emotions in her heart were intense, and she felt a strong fear. Is this a good sign? Lin Fan thought. Fu Guang's figure appeared in front of him. On the command tower, the captain saw the monster bubbling on the sea and sinking little by little, and issued an order to salvage it. Yu Guangli immediately conveyed it to the 623 people on the deck, asking them to cover the Mecha, quickly pack up their things, and evacuate the deck. Song Ren pulled Xingqian up and half supported her into the cabin. The secret of Xingqian's transformation cannot be known to outsiders. When returning, the other three had already controlled the Mecha to stop in a fixed position, and the staff were pulling the canvas to cover it. He also quickly stopped Fu Guang in a fixed position and withdrew from the Mecha. Once the Mecha was covered, the crew could go on deck. When they came up, they could no longer see any trace of the Mecha, and they were busy cooperating with the crew in the sea to raise the crane and net back for salvage. Compared with a pile of electronic instruments and things that were covered and could not be seen, the monster wreckage obviously attracted more of their attention. The people of 623 were busy packing the instruments and piling everything aside. The two parties did not interfere with each other and were busy but orderly. Lin Fan had been resting in the room for a while. She knew that the monster was being salvaged and she couldn't let it go, so she wanted to go to the deck to take a look. Seeing that she was pale and still walked limply, Song Ren took out the thermos from the reserve bag, poured a cup of hot cocoa, and handed it to her. Lee Chun-hua and the other two also quickly changed and washed, and stood at the cabin door with Lin Fan, watching the crew members busy on the deck. Actually, I don't think that monster can do anything to Xingqian. Lee Chun-hua glanced at Lin Fan. He hadn't seen Lin Fan in such a weak state for a long time. The shipborne guns can easily destroy it, proving that its physical defense is very low. Gu folded his arms across his chest, leaned on the fence, and looked at the white pieces of meat floating in the sea. That being said, you didn't dare to gamble at that time, did you? Gao Fei put his hands in his trouser pockets and leaned against the hatch and said, such a big head. I wanted to run away even on the screen. For such a big creature, running away is an instinct. Seeing that Lin Fan had finished drinking, Song Ren refilled her cup. Rapid survival is also a rare and special experience. It's best if nothing happens. Lin Fan sipped the hot water in the cup, as if he didn't hear anything, his eyes staring straight at the crane in front. The noise became louder. The crew had already fished up the wreckage with the fishing net and the crane. The huge body couldn't be spread out on the deck, and 1/3 of it had to be folded up. The deck space, which was originally quite large, was suddenly reduced to a small space. Everyone gathered around. This must be about 50 meters, right? Lee Chun-hua said with a sigh. When it rushed up just now, I thought I saw a white dragon going out to sea. Gao Fei said, now it seems to be just a big hairtail. After he said this, others also felt that this monster really looked like an enlarged version of hairtail. But the mouth is like that of a crocodile, long and pointed. White is one of the typical signs of deep sea creatures, because there is no light below, so it has degenerated. Gu said, looking at the white dead fish eyes. Even the meat is pink, much lighter than ordinary fish meat. Many internal organs have fallen from the cross section, and some jelly-like things can be vaguely seen inside. Which department should this be handed over to? The Ocean Bureau? Lee Chun-hua scratched his head. Impossible. It must be handed over to a special department for a search, before it will be handed over to the Ocean Bureau. Gu denied it outright. This kind of special creature, even if the general organization accepts it, it will not know where to start. Gu is right. We will notify the institutions that are good at handling this, and let them take over. Yu Guangli walked over. Are there institutions that specialize in handling these monsters? Lee Chun-hua was surprised. That's for sure. Each institution has its own expertise. For example, we are good at the field of science and technology and aerospace, Yu Guangli said, calling a few members of the 623 team to record the basic data of the monsters. And the kind of special affairs office? Lee Chun-hua has been a diehard fan since he heard the story of the special affairs office. Yes, in addition to us and the special affairs office, there are many other organizations. Yu Guangli did not elaborate, but that smile really said it all. Lin Fan couldn't help but think of the time long ago when he was in the police station with John Woo. He confirmed his identity to others, and when he logged into the query system, it seemed that there were indeed many secret security organizations. Of course, she didn't see it, but she could tell from their words and deeds. Now she is a little curious. How many hidden organizations are there? After returning to the institute, Jin Sichen learned that Lin Fan was in danger, and his face changed color with anxiety. He originally thought that Lin Fan had recovered better, and he should let go when it was time to let go, and he didn't need to accompany him in everything. Besides, it would be useless for him, a psychologist, to go to the sea when their mecha went down. If I had known earlier, it would be useless if I had known earlier, and he would still be helpless even if he went. Jin Sichen sighed and called Zhu Kunjin. Chapter 180 Cui Yan's Beauty Trap. Sichen, what's wrong? The phone rang, and Zhu Kunjin answered it. When Lin Fan first entered 800, Zhu Kunjin was worried. At that time, he and Jin Sichen would talk on the phone every now and then. Either he called, or Jin Sichen called. But as the situation stabilized, Lin Fan's condition gradually improved, and Cui Yan did not show any special conditions. Such reporting calls became less frequent. Moreover, the usual reporting calls were made at night, after Jin Sichen returned to the dormitory. A call during the day, like now, obviously meant that something had happened. Jin Sichin told him about Lin Fan's encounter with monsters in the sea, indicating his current embarrassing situation. When she was in the research institute, I could go to see her training at any time. Now that she has changed to the wild environment, I can't follow her. Jin Sichin was helpless. What reason do I have to follow her? She is not a child who has not been weaned. Besides, it's useless for me to follow her. Is Lin Fan okay? ZHU Kunjin heard it and still cared about Lin Fan's condition first. It's okay, but she has obvious emotional sensitivity because of this incident. I don't know whether it's good or bad. Jin Sichin covered his head. Doesn't having emotions prove that she's recovered from her illness? ZHU Kunjin didn't understand. From the perspective of the disease, having emotions does mean improvement. Jin Sichin found a place to sit down, but with emotions, especially fear, Lin Fan can't move forward like before. Because she will be afraid instinctively. ZHU Kunjin reacted for a while before understanding what he meant. The research institute wants her to be fearless. After this incident, some people said that Lin Fan shouldn't run away. She should fight the monster head on. Because from the results later, the monster's physical defense is not high, and Xingqian's strength is much higher than the monster. Jin Sichin heard more than one person say this. What do they think that is? It's not just Xingqian, there's a person in it. ZHU Kunjin was angry. Xingqian's data has always been very strong, so over time, many people think that Xingqian should be invincible. It just so happens that Lin Fan didn't have any emotions before, and she did whatever she was told. Now she suddenly shrinks back, and they are disappointed. Jin Sichin can understand the emergence of this emotion. Disappointment. ZHU Kunjin took out a cigarette, put it in his mouth and lit it, taking a deep breath. I want Lin Fan to return to normal and keep Xingqian stable, and I want her to not have the fear of normal people. I've thought of everything good for them. What does Zibishan say? I haven't heard what he said, and Yu Guangli and the others haven't expressed anything in this regard. Jin Sichin finally felt a little comforted when he said this. This is just the idea of the team members below, but because there are many people with such ideas, there will definitely be problems after a long time. No one knows the complexity of human hearts better than Jin Sichin. When he saw that there were so many people in the underground research room, he knew that there would be disputes sooner or later, but he didn't expect it to come so soon. People. ZHU Kunjin sighed. Tell Yu Guangli about this situation and let Zibishan know. Let them intervene in their internal affairs, and you watch from the side. If it doesn't work, I'll take action. Got it? Jin Sichin nodded in response, and then said, there is one more thing. I think there may be some problems, and I should let you know. Got it? ZHU Kunjin took a puff of cigarette and slowly blew out a smoke ring. I think. Jin Sichin pondered for a moment. Is Cui Yan using the beauty trap? What? ZHU Kunjin felt that he didn't hear clearly. Say it again. Didn't you say last time that Cui Yan had tried to snatch people from you several times but never won? Jin Sichin knew that it was unreliable to say it out loud, so he could only tell the details from the beginning. Yes, that kid is mean, but he can't snatch it from me after all. ZHU Kunjin put out his cigarette in the ashtray and laughed. In fact, it's not that Cui Yan's methods are not good. After several secret fights, ZHU Kunjin vaguely tasted that the higher-ups probably had concerns about Cui Yan. So Lin Fan was able to quickly settle in the special affairs office before leaving, and no matter how Cui Yan used his methods later, he couldn't be transferred there. There were several times when he almost thought that Lin Fan was going to be transferred, but the higher-ups didn't approve it. Speaking of snatching people, he suddenly remembered that Cui Yan hadn't made a move for a long time. He thought he knew he couldn't win and gave up. It seems that he was naive. I recently suddenly discovered that the guys surrounding Lin Fan in that team are all handsome guys. Jin Sichin also suddenly realized it one day. Li Chunhua's marriage doesn't count. 3 handsome guys surrounding Lin Fan every day. I find it suspicious, no matter how I look at it. Song Ren is not to be mentioned. He is handsome enough to be on TV. He is capable, has a good personality, is not talkative and considerate. Jin Sichin saw him taking care of Lin Fan meticulously several times, and he suspected that he was interested in her. However, according to his observation, he has not found love yet. But such a considerate and warm man treats Lin Fan well every day. Can Lin Fan resist? Of course, she has not been defeated by the sugar-coated bullets yet, but there is still a long way to go in the future. Who can guarantee that there will not be such a day? Song Ren alone is not counted. Gao Fei and Yu are not easy to deal with. Gao Fei looks like an innocent boy at first glance, always reminding people of the boys who were playing youth on the basketball court during school. His handsomeness is different from Song Ren, which is full of youthful memories. Even Jin Sichin is like this, let alone ordinary people. He is particularly close to Lin Fan, calling her sister. Perhaps this kind of address shortened the psychological distance between Lin Fan and Gao Fei. She is getting closer and closer to Gao Fei socially, sometimes even closer than Song Ren. What is popular now? Sister-brother love! Exclamation mark. Such a pure little puppy is the easiest to impress a sister. There is also Yu. He is the kind of slender handsome, standing there in a gentle manner, with a kind of broken beauty, and a bit of loneliness. The kind that makes people feel distressed from the bottom of their hearts. He usually doesn't like to smile, and always has a faint expression. But since he came back from the Chinese New Year, he has smiled more, and his smile to Lin Fan is especially bright. What's more terrifying is that Yu has an extremely high IQ. He always keenly discovered Lin Fan's needs and said something to make her happy. I just don't believe that when the team was replenished, the quality of the others was not as good as Gao Fei and Yu. It was obviously picked based on their looks. Jin Sichin also took the opportunity to check the reserve team and the flight base, and found that the remaining people were not as good looking as those few people, which made him more certain of his thoughts. This bastard, if he can't do it openly, he will do it secretly. I said he hasn't made any moves recently. ZHU Kumjin lit another cigarette angrily. He wants to use the beauty trap to lure Lin Fan to their research institute. Is Lin Fan so easy to be abducted? It's hard to say. This is also the reason why Jin Sichin hesitated. Lin Fan can also sense emotions now. It's really hard to say whether he will be tempted later. ZHU Kumjin choked, and suddenly an idea flashed. Isn't it just a beauty trap? Does he think that only their 800 have handsome men? We have some in the Special Affairs Institute. Sichin, you go. Chapter 181 Communication. There is no doubt that Jin Sichin is a handsome man. Compared with Song Ren's tough handsomeness, Jin Sichin, who has fair skin, red lips and white teeth, and fancy clothes, can be regarded as a real beautiful man. He has always been gentle in front of people and always smiles. Coupled with the professional bonus of an internationally renowned psychologist, he has gained a lot of fans during his work at 800. But ZHU Kumjin's sudden proposal still made him instinctively reject it. It's not that Lin Fan is not good enough. As mentioned before, the person who knows Lin Fan's heart best in the world is Jin Sichin. And after such a long time of getting along, his emotional ties with Lin Fan are getting deeper and deeper. Out of friends, colleagues, or a simple appreciation, there is no love between men and women. Now suddenly let him change. He has never thought about it, okay? Moreover, to be honest, Jin Sichin feels frustrated in front of Lin Fan. Don't forget that the biggest Waterloo in his life was encountering Lin Fan. Although I don't know what the principle is, from the perspective of hypnosis, he has no face in front of Lin Fan. Just this point, his proud talent can't stand up in front of Lin Fan. What's the point of talking about love between men and women? In addition, after Lin Fan's transformation into a star stabilized, Jin Sichin went to the training ground to see it. That strength is indeed impressive. Not to mention the fight with Fu Guang and the others. One of them didn't control the strength well, and the Mecha weighing more than 300 kilograms flew away lightly. Anyway, in short, Jin Sichin's love for Lin Fan is from the heart, no doubt. But he never went to the level of love between men and women. Jin Sichin knew what ZHU Kumjin was up to, but he really couldn't do it. After explaining, he introduced another candidate. If it doesn't work, you can find Wu Yusen. Lin Fan has a special feeling for him, because Wu Yusen rescued Lin Fan from a difficult situation and brought her into the Special Affairs office. Later, he escorted her all the way to the 800 Institute. Lin Fan's feelings for him are different from those for others. Jin Sichin still remembered that the last time Wu Yusen left, Lin Fan's mood became very bad for a time. If we have to find someone to compete with 800 and other guys, then John Woo is undoubtedly the best candidate. He is also good looking, always smiling, and has a good personality. His ability is not inferior to Song Ren. John Woo is on a mission outside and can't come back for a while. ZHU Kunjin would never think of John Woo. Is it very difficult? No. After he finishes the task at hand, don't assign him other tasks first. Jin Sichin said in agreement with ZHU Kunjin. If there is anyone who can compete with Song Ren in front of Lin Fan, it must be John Woo. It's not difficult, but it will take time. ZHU Kunjin was also unhappy for a while and blurted out. After he recovered, he calmed down a little. He knew in his heart that the feasibility of this matter was too low. Lin Fan is a living person. According to Jin Sichin, she is mature and determined, and will not be easily influenced by others. This is why Cui Yan can only make small moves in a roundabout way, because he knows that, if he forces it, it will obviously not work. So even if Cui Yan really has such a plan, he can't do whatever he wants. Moreover, more than half a year has passed, and several people have been together every day, wishing they could stay together for 24 hours, and even traveled together during the new year. Although they are together, what was going to happen has already happened. It's a bit late to think about it now. Besides, it will rain, and the mother will marry. If Lin Fan really wants to be with someone, how can they stop him? If Cui Yan really succeeds, at worst, he can use more force to kidnap the person back to the Special Affairs Office. It's not impossible. Isn't John Woo the best example? After thinking it over, ZHU Kunjin became happy again and talked about John Woo. A while ago, 800 asked me to work with them to find other materials similar to 818. They want to make bionic armor. Jin Sichin knew about this, but he didn't know that the task was assigned to the Special Affairs Office. The bionic armor they are making now cannot be made without 818 coating. But the previous small samples have been used up, and the big ones have to be reserved for Xingqian, so they dare not move them. They think that, if there is one, there will be two. They believe that there will not be only one 818, so there must be similar materials. Wu Yusen was in charge of this matter at the beginning. He is familiar with this thing, so I sent him out. ZHU Kunjin drank a cup of tea comfortably. Look, at the critical moment, they have to rely on their Special Affairs Office. That's not easy to find. Have you selected an area? When Jin Sichin heard this, wasn't it the same as looking for a needle in a haystack? At present, we are searching nationwide with Yangcheng as the center point. ZHU Kunjin replied, Wu Yusen is only one of the main persons in charge. The basic work is still being done by the geological survey bureaus in various places. If there are special samples, notify him to identify them. That's not bad. Knowing that he was not going to look for them personally, Jin Sichin felt that his workload was greatly reduced, but it is indeed very time consuming. I don't know when I will finish this search. After saying this, the two exchanged some recent news. ZHU Kunjin told Jin Sichin to pay attention to Lin Fan's emotional state and ended the call. 3 days later, Yu Guangli convened an internal meeting of the group. Jin Sichin sat at the conference table and looked at the young men attending the meeting. I don't know if it was affected by the phone call a few days ago, but he suddenly found a bright spot that he had not noticed before. Whether it is the baby-faced Xiaojing, the cheerful Ke Wenbin, the shy Zhang Zhaoji, or even the cold Wang Kuangli, they all have a good image. The scientific researchers in 800 miles must have intelligence and talent higher than ordinary people. Those who can join the 623 group must have certain strength and achievements in a certain field. After these two conditions were screened, more than half of the researchers were eliminated. Among the remaining people, there are really not many with good looks. After all, 800 is a scientific research organization, and brains are more important than beautiful appearance. But what is strange is that, except for Li Chunhe who got married early and Yu Guangli who is old and married, the other men in their 623 group are all single young men. In terms of appearance, although they are not as good as Song Ren and others, they can all be regarded as decent and have their own characteristics. Do you want to say that this is completely a coincidence? Jin Sichin thinks that there is no such coincidence in the world. But there is no use thinking about it anymore. At this point, he can only wait and see. Yu Guangli still served as the host of the meeting, mainly summarizing the results of this deep sea test and the performance error problems of Yufeng. He also explained and analyzed the dangerous situation of Lin Fan. First of all, Yufeng has low stress resistance. After disassembling and reviewing overnight, it was found that the loose pipeline in a place inside the mecha that was not easy to attract attention caused the overall structure of the mecha to change. It was not obvious on land, but in the sea, it was affected by water pressure and showed up. Yu Guangli reviewed the error on behalf of the equipment department and made a rectification plan. In terms of diving depth, the bionic armor can only dive to a depth of more than 700 meters due to oxygen reserve problems, and has good pressure resistance. This depth does not seem to be comparable to Xingqian, but it can already beat many underwater instruments. Moreover, because of the skilled control performance of the mecha driver, in terms of practicality and convenience, it has increased the possibility of operation that many underwater robots cannot achieve. As for Xingqian, there was no hindrance in the sea, but it was like a fish in water. At present, it can move freely at a depth of more than 2,300 meters on the seabed. This depth is a field that many machines cannot reach. If it were not for the emergency, their dive test this time could be said to be perfect. But it is precisely because of this unexpected situation that equipping the mecha with weapons has also been put on the agenda. The bionic armor was designed with weapon slots, but because it is still in the running test state, the research team has not yet been busy with the development of thermal weapons for the mecha. Xingqian's attack in the sea this time also sounded a wake-up call for them. If Xingqian had weapons in her hands at that time, she might not have had only the choice of fleeing in panic. Of course, weapon development is not that fast, and it will take a lot of time. And an unexpected discovery made by Song Ren surprised everyone. When Xingqian was in danger, Fu Guan could sense her emotions. Do you like Song Ren more, or do you like Zhongwu more? Chapter 182 Desert. At that time, Xingqian was running around in the sea, and everyone else was watching her in front of the screen. Only Song Ren stayed in Fuguang, and didn't come out, to prevent any unexpected situation. Because of this, he unexpectedly found that he could clearly feel the panic while waiting in Fuguang. The fear mixed with anxiety and the violent heartbeat were definitely not coming from him. Looking at Xingqian who was panicking on the screen, he realized that this emotion might come from Lin Fan's heart. Until Xingqian came out of the water and got rid of the danger, Song Ren and Fuguang almost felt the same emotion. What? Can you empathize with Xingqian? Everyone was surprised by this new discovery. Li Chunhua and the other two got out of the mecha too early, so they didn't know whether Jinggang, Yufeng and Binglin would have the same situation. In order to confirm this situation, after the meeting, Song Ren, Li Chunhua and Ji all went on the machine to test. Gao Fei's Yufeng had not been assembled yet, so he could only stand aside and watch. Finally, it was confirmed that when Xingqian was in a strong mood, the bionic armor could indeed feel her emotions. Moreover, it was found in the test that Xingqian could not use the communication equipment, but only consciously recite in her heart, and the bionic armor could hear her voice. It seemed that an unconventional communication channel was established between Xingqian and the bionic armor. But such a communication channel is only one-sided, from Xingqian to the imitation mecha. In turn, the drivers in the bionic armor had no way to convey any emotions and information to Xingqian. Everyone attributed the reason to the fact that the coating material of the bionic armor shell and Xingqian belonged to the same 818. Although most of the time, everyone used the communicator to communicate, and this function seemed to be of little use. But even if the 818 material was separated on different mechas, it still maintained a certain commonality, which was still surprising. But it was useless to be surprised, and the remaining 818 could only be left for Xingqian. We can only hope to find other similar materials. The research team was busy developing weapons, and Lin Fan, who knew nothing about firearms, was also on the agenda for weapon training. There has always been confrontational training in daily physical training, but there are still too many shortcomings. In this adjustment, Song Ren added some equipment to the training, such as the use of common sticks, long swords and daggers. Of course, gun training is also indispensable. The weapon development plan for the mecha has been notified to the whole team, which is to add a gun to the mecha. The gun is in the shape of a short-handled submachine gun, and is fixed on the buckle reserved on the back of the bionic armor. Xingqian has no way to hang a gun on his body, so the researchers specially designed the gun to be split. A gun was disassembled into 4 parts and hung on the mechas of 4 people respectively. When it is needed, it can be taken down and assembled quickly. Although it is not as convenient as taking it directly from the back of the bionic armor, it is better than having nothing. And these parts can also be used as spare parts for the whole gun. Now that you have a gun, you have to learn to shoot inevitably. Lin Fan has good eyesight and good accuracy. What needs to be trained is the basic knowledge of firearms, as well as the control of arm strength during actual operation. The mecha gun fires lasers to cause damage. Although it has not been completed so quickly, you can tell from the name that it is very powerful, not much different from a small laser cannon. During daily training, the few people can only use special simulated firearms. Compared with Lin Fan, who knows nothing, the other 4 are very familiar with shooting, as long as they adapt to the operation of the new weapon. Lin Fan, on the other hand, has to learn from scratch. Fortunately, the recoil of the laser gun is not strong, and after practicing for a period of time, it can be considered to be quite good. Not long after the bionic armor was debugged and integrated again, 623 started the 3rd field training. This time it was a high temperature test, and a group of people pulled the mecha to the desert. The Tak Desert is the largest desert in China, spanning 1,000 kilometers from east to west and 400 kilometers from north to south. It is dry and rainy all year round, with frequent monsoons. It is the 2nd largest mobile desert in the world. During the day in the Tak Desert, the highest temperature on the sand surface can reach 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. Such high temperatures often make the air on the ground erratic, and mirages are common. In desert climate, the temperature difference between day and night is large, usually reaching 40 to 50 degrees. Therefore, at night, with a temperature of more than 20 degrees, people feel more comfortable in the warm sand. It was spring when Lin Fan and his team came. In this season, the rising temperature affects the temperature of the surface sand, and the rising air currents lead to strong monsoons, which produce huge sandstorms. Strong hurricanes will blow up the sand in the desert, making the air full of sand and dust, and such dust can reach up to 3 or 4 kilometers. The Taka Desert has monsoons all year round, so it is troubled by sand and dust all year round. The shell of the bionic armor is coated with a layer of 818 material, which can withstand high temperatures of nearly 1000 degrees Celsius. So from the temperature alone, the difficulty of the desert trip is not high. But as mentioned before, all data must be tested in the field before they are valid. There is no way to observe the real state of the driver in the laboratory. Just like the last time in the sea, the poor wind resistance and pressure resistance, and the sea monsters encountered later, the state that Xingqian could not cope with, are all impossible to measure in the laboratory. In this desert test, there were no problems with the bionic armor. Only Lin Fan, because he could not transform into Xingqian for a long time, had to resist with his thin body, which was very difficult. He could not walk at all during the day, and could only hide in the tent, and wait for the sun to go down. But even if he set up a tent in the desert, the constant heat waves were still uncomfortable. Lin Fan could not move or sleep. On the contrary, the 4 bionic armors felt more comfortable than before in the jungle, because of the sufficient light and heat energy and sufficient energy. Lin Fan could only walk in the morning when the sun just came out, and the temperature was not so high, and in the evening. At night, because it was dark and the desert environment was too dangerous, he naturally could not walk around freely. The total activity time for a day was only 3 or 4 hours. But despite this, Lin Fan still felt exhausted. Even if he kept replenishing water, his lips were still chapped. Xingqian's state naturally would not feel these pains. But because the standby time was only more than an hour, she would feel more uncomfortable after the transformation due to excessive physical exhaustion. Therefore, in order to hone her fragile body, and not to increase her pain, Lin Fan simply decided not to transform. In this way, it was naturally very hard to walk. But fortunately, she knew that the team was nearby, and she didn't feel desperate, so it was okay if it was just hard work. 5 days later, everyone experienced a hurricane sandstorm. The violent wind brought sand and gravel and almost blew away Lin Fan's tent. If Song Ren and his men hadn't parked the Mecha around the tent to form a certain enclosure, the tent would have disappeared long ago. Despite this, when the sandstorm ended, several people also dug out the calf-high sand from the tent. Not long after, they experienced another rainfall. The rainfall in the desert came and went quickly. Before they could react, it disappeared without a trace. The water on the sand evaporated again after a few minutes. I don't know if it was because of the rain, but as the temperature rose, they saw a mirage again. In the vast desert, high-rise buildings and beaches of the city appeared in the air one after another. Lin Fan endured the high temperature, poked his head out of the tent, and watched the spectacular sight with everyone. After a few days of training, the haggard Lin Fan seemed to have adapted to such hot weather and lived in a more comfortable state. When she thought that she might be able to survive in the desert like this, she accidentally fell into quicksand. It was obviously the same sand as the surrounding areas, but once she stepped in, she couldn't pull it out. After struggling hard for a few times, her calves were buried in the sand. Lee Chun-hua was the first to rush up and pull her up, but was held back by Ji-yu. She can come out by herself. It will be troublesome if you go down, Song Ren also said beside her. Lin Fan only struggled a few times, and her knees were buried in the quicksand. Because of the existence of the stars, she was not afraid in her heart. She even thought about whether she should sink all in and see what was underneath. However, the quicksand quickly surged up and submerged her hips, making her lower body unable to move. At this time, Lin Fan felt something was wrong. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Flight. The tight suction feeling came from the sand. She felt like she was trapped in a hard quagmire, and the pressure came from all directions, tightly wrapping her and making her unable to move. Sister, come up quickly. Gao Fei didn't know what Lin Fan was waiting for, but she felt that she was sinking deeper and deeper, which looked bad. Lin Fan didn't want to delay any longer, so she took off the backpack on her back and threw it out with force. With just 2 twists and throws, she sank down a lot faster, and the quicksand quickly covered her chest, and her arms were about to sink in. The heavy pressure on her chest made her feel extremely uncomfortable. Lin Fan, Song Ren shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, Xingchen jumped out of the quicksand pit and landed lightly and steadily behind the few people. Are you okay? Lee Chun-hua asked. Xingchen shook her head and took the backpack from Ji-yu's Binglan. This feeling is really uncomfortable. You stayed in there for so long. Lee Chun-hua was completely relieved when she saw Lin Fan coming up. I just want to exercise. Didn't Song Ren say that such extreme events are rare? Lin Fan said nonchalantly. She always remembered that the current training was a test of her physical fitness. Anyway, there would be no real danger, so why not exercise more? That being said, when the stars retreated and transformed, Lin Fan's condition was still not very good. I don't know if it was because he was tired after so many days, or because he was scared by the quicksand. The people in the command vehicle thought that they had almost experienced everything they should have experienced in the past few days. It was not meaningful to continue, and it would be a heavy burden on Lin Fan. So they ordered the desert trip to end. This time, the field test was generally smooth. Although Lin Fan shed a layer of skin, his physical fitness was also improved because of the challenge to the limit. Because there was no need to adjust the bionic armor. After giving a few people some rest time, the team got an icebreaker from somewhere and took the group to the glacier. After the high heat, there is high cold. The bionic armor is still good at adapting to the temperature. If you want to know how cold the polar regions are, just look at how thick Lin Fan is wearing. She wrapped herself up in a thick layer of clothes and followed the 4 mechas on the glacier with very unsteady movements. She felt that she was at a disadvantage. The 4 people in the bionic armor did not have to worry about the temperature at all, and they were able to move flexibly. Only she, because she was wearing too many clothes, even found it difficult to walk. Fortunately, during the journey, she unexpectedly saw a lot of animals. Seeing penguins and seals in the polar regions was a completely different feeling than seeing them in the zoo. Here, the bionic armor also encountered problems. Because there were large areas of ice, it was okay when encountering snow-covered areas, and they could walk steadily. Once there was a smooth ice surface without snow, the bionic armor always slipped, and walking was not as stable as Lin Fan wearing snow boots. The same problem was encountered when climbing up and down. Because the friction was not enough, the bionic armor was very laborious to move on the ice. Lin Fan tried to transform into a star, and there was no such problem at all. Because the problem was revealed very quickly, and it was confirmed to be a structural design problem, the team did not stay in the polar environment for too long and returned quickly. After returning, the researchers quickly made adjustments to the structural defects of the bionic armor, and increased the friction of some structures. At the same time, the gun was developed and equipped with it, and it was debugged intensively. The team members who learned that the laser gun was being equipped stepped up their gun training. The weather gradually became hotter, and soon it was summer again. Several people from the 623 Mecha team took a plane to the sky again. Unlike the previous time, when they took Lin Fan to parachute, this time they were equipped with mechas. The last environmental test was the air project. The bionic armor cannot fly at will and can only float for a short distance, but their performance in the air and airborne performance still need to be tested. Originally, the researchers also tried to add a rear wing to the bionic armor to increase its gliding function, but because of the strength of the material, weight, and other reasons, they gave up. The 4 pilots of the bionic armor are very familiar with parachuting, but it is the first time to parachute in a mecha. The bionic armor is equipped with a special parachute, but the 4 people who are trying it for the first time are actually not sure. You have to know that the weight of the bionic armor reaches more than 300 kilograms. It is not fun to fall from such a heavy iron lump from a high altitude if you cannot successfully open the parachute. This time, Lin Fan was calm and composed. She was already familiar with the flight function and appeared as an escort. This time they had to jump one by one, and Lin Fan had to follow everyone to ensure that the previous one landed safely before coming up to pick up the second one. Because they were equipped with mechas, the height of the parachute jump was chosen to be 10,000 meters. Problems such as thin air and coldness did not need to be considered at all. Song Ren was still the first to jump. He nodded to Lin Fan, and when he saw her switch to the star state, he nodded to the others. He opened the cabin door, opened his hands, and jumped out. Song Ren and Fu Guan felt the strong gravity pulling him down after he got out of the cabin. The feeling was completely different from the previous parachute jump. Fortunately, he had received gravity acceleration training in this area in the laboratory before, and the packaging performance inside the Fu Guan was also good. Except for the initial discomfort, Song Ren quickly adjusted his posture. "Are you okay?" Xingchen appeared next to him and asked. That leisurely posture reminded Song Ren of the first time he took her skydiving. The person who kept screaming "wow" was completely different from now. Come to think of it, it has only been more than 2 months. It's okay. Song Ren's voice was a little breathless. After finally reaching the parachute opening height, Song Ren pulled open the parachute bag. The huge parachute opened, and Fu Guang suddenly buffered, and the descent speed slowed down. As the altitude decreased, the pulling feeling Song Ren felt was gradually getting smaller. When landing on the ground, Fu Guang opened the thrusters of his hands and feet in advance. But because of the huge gravity acceleration, it left a very deep mark on the ground. Song Ren also almost fell down in a very undignified way. But fortunately, he was fine. After Lin Fan confirmed that he was fine, he flew up again with a whoosh. When Song Ren looked up, he only saw a small black dot. That speed was much faster than accompanying him down. In order to save time, when Song Ren was about to land, Lin Fan issued an order for the second person to jump down. When she saw the golden shell of the mecha in midair, the other party also saw her. "Hey, Lin Fan." When Li Chunhe jumped down, Xingchen was still following Fu Guang below. He followed her instructions, based on his trust in Lin Fan. At first, he was pulled down by force, and he was very panicked. It was not until he saw the white star appeared in front of him that his heart fell into his stomach. So, under Lin Fan's protection, several people successfully tried the Mecha parachute without any danger, and had a new experience of load-carrying rapid descent. And Xingchen, after flying flexibly, was required to fly at a faster speed. Because of the many round-trip transportations, many people in the research institute and the flight base knew about these mechas. Several mechas were semi-publicly undergoing field tests, and everyone knew that the latest mechas developed by the research institute were very powerful. Only the truth of Lin Fan's transformation was still kept top secret. Xingchen set off from the research institute and often flew over the fighter jets that were being tested in the air at the aviation base when he flew rapidly. With the official release of Project 623 and the Research Institute, the dynamics of several mechas such as Xingchen were no longer deliberately concealed. Over time, fighter pilots have seen that this latest white mecha developed by the Research Institute next door has excellent performance and its flying ability is simply unmatched. They can't help but yearn for mecha people and are curious about the pilots inside. They want to find an opportunity to get close and see it. In the high-speed flight, the speed of Xingchen is already comparable to that of a rocket. The researchers feel that this is not the limit of Xingchen's speed, but there is no special meaning in speed testing that is separated from actual use, so they didn't continue to test it. At this time, Lin Fan's control of flying ability has become more and more proficient, and the speed is up to his heart. In terms of strength, he can stretch and contract freely. He can hold an egg in his hand or break a rock plate with his force. As Lin Fan becomes more and more proficient in controlling Xingchen, the standby time can be stabilized at 2 hours. At this moment, someone in the research team proposed that Xingchen has such a fast speed and is resistant to high temperatures, so can it fly directly into space? Why don't these researchers go to heaven? Chapter 184, Flying Man. From a theoretical point of view, Xingchen can withstand the high temperature when passing through the atmosphere, and her own power can support her to fly at will, so it is not a problem to enter space easily. However, this is only theoretical data. No matter how strong Xingchen's performance is, she still looks too small in front of the huge rocket and space capsule. In addition to the characteristics of her own biological mecha, no one can predict whether Xingchen will have unacceptable results if she fails. If she makes such an attempt, within the atmosphere, aircraft can be dispatched to pick up Xingchen. If Xingchen leaves the atmosphere, there will be no remedial measures if there is any problem. After all, the domestic space shuttle has just been completed. The technology is not yet complete, and it is still under testing and cannot be put into use directly. After discussion within the group, everyone agreed that it is better not to take this risk at present. After all, Xingchen's ability has just been developed to the extreme and has not been used in practice. It is not advisable to blindly advance at this time. Lin Fan did not care about how the researchers argued. At this time, she was taking the other 4 people in the team to the sky and the sea. Yes, it literally means to the sky and the sea. As mentioned before, the bionic armor cannot fly due to technological limitations, but load-carrying parachuting gave the researchers inspiration. Bionic armor can't fly, but Xingchen can. Their 5-person team usually acts as a group, and Xingchen can fly with other bionic armors. But the problem is again, Xingchen can fly with any mecha alone, or pull one with one hand. But if you want to carry 4 mechas at the same time, it is too unreliable to rely on hand grip alone, and some external fixation devices must be used. After another round of debugging, special buckles and handles were added to the arms, shoulders, and backs of the 4 bionic armors. They can be fixed in pairs, and it is convenient for Xingchen to grasp. After everything was ready, Xingchen grabbed the handles on Fu Guang and Jinggang's upper arms and lifted them up slightly. About 70 centimeters off the ground, Fu Guang and Jinggang fixed the buckles on their forearms with the buckles on Binglan and Yufeng's upper arms respectively. After the external fixation was completed, the Xinglan system self-checked the safety of the equipment, adjusted the mecha to a suitable flying posture, and connected the 4 mechas in parallel to the same control line, which was controlled by Fu Guang. On the large screen in the control room, the vision of the 4 bionic armors was automatically spliced by the system into an ultra-wide-angle lens. "Are you ready?" Lin Fan asked after ensuring that the hardware was locked. Okay. Lee Chun-hua was the most excited. He had jumped many times, but it was his first time to fly in the sky. Ji-yu and Gao Fei also said they were ready. As former fighter pilots, they had not flown for a long time and were very eager for the next air experience. Song Ren was the most calm, but he was also full of expectations. When he first entered 800, he was still thinking about whether there was a chance to test drive the plane. Now it seems that there is little hope, but soaring in the sky with a steel body, such an experience seems to be much more exciting than flying a plane. After the console issued the start command, Xingqian and several people slowly ascended. The 5 mechas were connected into an inverted V shape and rose a little bit. At first, Lin Fan still took into account the feelings of several people and did not dare to go too fast. But such a slow rise was completely inconsistent with Lee Chun-hua's expectations, and he could not help but urge Lin Fan to go faster. Song Ren agreed that it was okay to speed up, and Gao Fei and Ji also agreed. Xingqian gradually accelerated and soon flew to the stratosphere, nearly 10,000 meters high. Seeing that the few people were still in good condition, Xingqian adjusted the direction, leveled his body on the ground, and began to fly with the 4 people. "Wow, this feels so good." Lee Chun-hua looked at the clouds below and said happily. This kind of zero distance contact gave everyone the illusion of melting into the sky. They couldn't help but feel that they were an eagle, soaring freely in the blue sky. "How does it feel?" Lin Fan's voice came. When Xingqian pulled the mecha, it firmly maintained the stability of the 4 mechas, so that they would not fall down. Because of Xingqian's strong control, the few people did not have the feeling of being pulled down by gravity when parachuting. It felt more relaxed. Great. Lee Chun-hua was very excited. "Lin Fan, have you always flown like this before?" "Me. I can fly much faster than this," Lin Fan replied. "The control console will not be satisfied with such a slow speed. The current speed is about 200 km per hour, which is about the same as the cruising speed of a helicopter. If it weren't for the first time for the 4 people she was pulling to the sky, the control console would have started nagging her to speed up." "What? This speed is slow?" Lee Chun-hua knew that Lin Fan had been training to fly fast recently, but he had no idea how fast it was. "Then how fast do you usually fly? Take us flying." "That won't work." Lin Fan rejected him lightly. "You probably don't know how fast my maximum flying speed is." "How fast?" The poor student Lee Chun-hua had never learned about the latest flight data of Xingqian. 8 km per second. Ji-yu's voice came. "What?" Lee Chun-hua was dumbfounded. "Just a tick. Xingqian can go out 8 kilometers? Yes, ordinary manned rockets can't reach this speed." Ji-yu added. "So the talents in the research group wanted to let Xingqian go to space to try. This is already supersonic." Gao Fei said, "Didn't you notice that several times before, we heard the sound of braking through the air on the ground long after Lin Fan flew over?" "It seems so." Lee Chun-hua thought about it, and it was true. It's not possible to experience extreme speed, but acceleration is still possible. Since a few people have adapted well, the console also issued a command to let Xingqian speed up. Lin Fan thought for a while. "Why don't I take you to feel the speed of the fighter?" "Fighter speed? What is that?" Lee Chun-hua asked again. "When we were still at the flight base, the latest fighter jets had a speed of nearly 3,000 km per hour. Gao explained for him. "More than that." Lin Fan's voice came again. "I passed by one a few days ago. It might be the latest model, and its speed was about 3,500 km per hour at that time. Since Xingqian was in danger on the seabed, her eyepiece has been improved and embedded with the Xinglan system. But her system is only responsible for measuring data and reminder functions, and is not responsible for controlling the mecha." Wow. Gao Fei was happy after hearing this. The flight speed of domestic fighter jets has always been a step behind that of foreign fighter jets. Now that it can be greatly improved, it is already a very good progress. "So are we flying at the newest speed this time?" Lee Chun-hua thought it was pretty good. But Lin Fan certainly couldn't do what he wanted. "Let's go with 2000 km/h. First, Gao Fei and Gu haven't flown for a long time, so they may not be able to adapt to the original speed. Second, Song Ren and Zyro Lizzie haven't flown before, and it's too fast. I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it. The reason why the flight speed was slightly lower than before was because Gao Fei and Gu would definitely not have any problems. Although Song Ren and Lee Chun-ho had never flown before, their physiques were stronger than them, so it shouldn't be a big problem. After discussing with the control console, they thought it was feasible, but asked Xingchen to keep an eye on the status of the other people. Are you ready? Lin Fan suddenly felt playful. Okay, I'll take you guys for a ride. Several people responded. Song Ren asked the Xinglan system to fix the head of the mecha at an angle suitable for level flight. When it was fixed on the ground, because the speed was not fast, only the torso and limbs were fixed, and the head of the mecha could still move. But this time, the acceleration was obviously no longer suitable for a movable state. If you twist your neck at high speed, it can be fatal. Everything was ready, and Lin Fan began to accelerate. The other four saw the clouds in front of them sliding quickly, and their originally light bodies slowly felt the supergravity. Is it okay? Lin Fan asked. Lee Chun-ho's gritted teeth and full of energy came. Okay. You are a man. How can you say no? Many boys inexplicably care about this. Ha 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 ha. If you can't say no, you will be miserable. Chapter 185 Frustration. Lin Fan almost burst out laughing. This little Leo. But seeing that he can still tell jokes and his voice sounds normal, there should be no problem. The other three reported their status in turn, and there were no problems. Since everything is fine, let's have some fun. Seeing that the few people adapted well, Lin Fan became playful. Before the others could react to what she was going to play, they saw Xingchen twisting her body and starting to rotate horizontally. The four mechas were rotated together by her, and the sky and the earth spun for a while, and the people inside began to feel dizzy. Rotation during high-speed operation is a routine operation of fighter jets. After Gao Fei and Gu adapted a little, they felt much better. Song Ren didn't say anything, and Lee Chun-ho couldn't say anything at all. Don't say it, if it's not okay. Lin Fan kindly reminded with a little bit of bad taste, and after flying level for a while, he started to circle up and down again. Lee Chun-ho just felt better, and she started to feel dizzy again. Little Leo, how is it? Is it okay? Lin Fan was more concerned about Lee Chun-ho's condition, because he was very proud and stubborn. Okay, very good. Although Lee Chun-ho felt dizzy, he felt that he could still hold on. He was not completely stubborn. Except for the period of spinning, he was indeed dizzy. After that period, he was still fine when flying level. But, will Lin Fan still spin in circles? Lee Chun-ho was a little scared in his heart, and made up his mind secretly. If Lin Fan spins again, and makes him dizzy, it won't work. Well, it won't work. It's not embarrassing. Didn't you hear that the boss didn't say anything? It must not be that good. Song Ren was slightly better than Lee Chun-ho, but he had strong self-regulation ability, and could adapt quickly. But his condition was definitely worse than that of Gao Fei and Gu, the two former pilots. After these two circles, these two people found the feeling of flying a fighter plane at the beginning, and became more and more excited. Lin Fan knew that he couldn't be too hard for the first time. He stopped circling, and shuttled up and down in the clouds. This time the amplitude was not large, and Song Ren and Lee Chun-ho did not feel obvious discomfort. The feeling of flying in the clouds made Lee Chun-ho float up again unconsciously. Are there any more exciting things? Lin Fan was sure to be satisfied when he heard that. He stopped flying through the clouds and started to dive down. This was different from the free fall during skydiving. At that time, it was only the gravity of the mecha itself that accelerated. Now, Xingchen was still accelerating autonomously in front. Even though Xingchen had removed most of the weight of the bionic armor, the four people felt very uncomfortable because of their own gravity and acceleration, as if they were crashing. But at the same time, everyone knew that with Xingchen there would be no danger, so they gritted their teeth and endured it. Lin Fan could see the heartbeats and blood pressure of several people in the eyepiece. Xinglan did not issue a danger warning, so she continued to dive. At this time, the speed was about 2,700 km per hour, which was the same as the speed of the fighter jets that Gao Fei and his friends had driven before. She knew that with the physical fitness of these people, there would be no problem. Lin Fan thought. Seeing a wide lake appear below, she suddenly thought of a new idea. Song Ren and the other three were almost unable to react at this time. They could only accept the scene in front of them instinctively, just like riding an extreme speed car. Seeing that they were about to hit the ground, even if they trusted Lin Fan, they couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Xingchen. In the control room, everyone watching the high-speed dive felt their adrenaline surge. Yu Guangli couldn't help but intervene. Lin Fan chuckled and changed direction 3 seconds before hitting the bottom, going up again, pulling up the 4 bionic armors. The strong airflow created several long pits on the ground, and fine soil splashed on the bionic armor shell and was washed away by the airflow. Li Chunhua exhaled. This is really too exciting. When did Lin Fan become so good at playing? He was wrong. He would never ask Lin Fan for excitement again. Li Chunhua was full of psychological activities and didn't notice the current situation at all. But Song Ren and the other two had noticed that Xingchen was taking them up again. Because of the fixed position, the few people could only stare at the blue sky and white clouds above their heads. When they rose to more than 700 meters, the perspective changed. Xingchen turned over and dived down again, accelerating. No way. Again. Li Chunhua's voice was a little split. Although he had just experienced it once and had some adaptation, this frequency was too frequent. It was all the boss's fault. Li Chunhua complained in her heart. It must be because he had trained Lin Fan too intensively when she was parachuting, making her think that the training was at this frequency. Can we stop now? This question emerged in Li Chunhua's heart, but when he heard that the other three did not speak out to stop him, he naturally could not be timid. He gritted his teeth decisively and held back the lingering thoughts in his heart. As the altitude decreased, everyone found the lake below. The water surface is better than the ground. Not so scary. Li Chunhua comforted himself. Just when they thought it was another bottoming out and rising, Lin Fan led everyone into the water. It was really beyond everyone's expectations. Because of Xingchen's previous encounter with the big hairtail in the sea, Lin Fan was disgusted with water for a while, and he hadn't even eaten fish for a long time. Everyone thought she would avoid the water this time. Unexpectedly. As expected, women are fickle. The calm surface of the water was completely broken by a group of people. After the initial chaos, the objects in the water became clearer the deeper they went. It was unknown where this lake was exactly. It was wide and deep. Lin Fan led a few people to shuttle quickly in the water, startling many aquatic creatures. Large groups of fish were scared away, and many swarmed towards them. The 4 people were led by her, rolling and spinning in the water, and saw scenes that they had never seen before when they were diving in the sea. It really looks like a live fish. The people in the control room looked at the screen and could feel how smooth their movements in the water were. Not long after playing, Xingchen rushed out of the water again. It seemed that the few people didn't make much noise. Lin Fan reflected on whether she had played too much just now. After confirming that the physiological conditions of the few people were normal and there was no problem, she didn't dare to ask aloud and returned to the research institute quickly with a little guilt. The updated eyepiece will help her locate the direction, and she has long been accustomed to this function. When she arrived at the research institute, the fixed restrictions were lifted. Song Ren and others came out of the Mecha, and Li Chunhua was the first to stumble and crawl to the wall and vomit. Gao Fei and Gu were fine at first, but when they saw Li Chunhua vomit, they felt a little nauseous. They felt very bad, whether to vomit or not. Song Ren didn't vomit, but his face was not very good either, and his face was blue. Lin Fan took a look and quickly hid behind Jin Sichen. Look, something really happened, right? At this moment, she was actually a little bit happy in her heart. But it was just a little bit. These people crushed her in all aspects of daily life. She didn't feel anything before, but recently, I don't know why, she felt a little unhappy. Originally, she didn't have any bad intentions. She just had fun in the lake, and no one stopped her, so she forgot herself. It was not her intention to cause this result now. But looking at the frustrated look of these proud children of heaven, I have to say that I'm still a little happy. Well, she needs to reflect on it and can't treat her companions like this in the future. Jin Sichin saw Lin Fan hiding behind her, and she knew what was going on after taking a look at her. At an angle that others couldn't see, she gave her a thumbs up. It is not easy to frustrate 800 people. Such an opportunity is not easy to come by, and it is good to have one. Song Ren and his companions were immersed in the discomfort and lack of strength, and did not think much about it. However, Yu Guangli, as the team leader, saw them like this, and gently criticized Lin Fan. It was not really a criticism, but he just said very politely that they should not do this again in the future. After all, there are only 4 pilots of the bionic armor, and talent resources are still relatively precious. Lin Fan was also smart, and promised to pay attention in the future. It goes without saying that Song Ren and his companions strengthened their training, because of their poor performance this time. When they adapted to the flying state after many running in trainings, it was already midsummer. In the director's office, Cui Yan received a call from his superior. What? We want our Mecha people to put out the fire? Song Ren was also frustrated. Oh ha ha ha. Chapter 186 Wildfire. Yes. A positive answer came from the phone. Have you read the recent wildfire news? Yes. It started 4 days ago. People like Cui Yan have the habit of paying attention to the news, so naturally they would not miss such big news. But after the forest fire many years ago, forest firefighting has its own set of response measures for wildfire prevention, and it usually takes no more than 3 or 4 days to contain the fire. So he did not pay attention to the follow-up news later. Well, this fire is a bit tricky. The person on the other end of the phone said slowly, I thought it could be controlled, but it reignited later, and the monsoon blew in the opposite direction. It's really wildfires can't be extinguished, and spring breezes will ignite again. Cui Yan had retrieved the latest wildfire news at this time, and opened it to quickly browse. The public is also involved. He frowned. Yes. The mountainous terrain makes it impossible for water trucks to get up there, so the fire has to be put out manually. The local firefighters have been fighting for several days and nights, and they are no longer able to keep up physically. After the public got the news, they spontaneously helped transport supplies, and surrounding firefighters were also mobilized, and are on the way. The speaker couldn't help but take off his glasses, and pinched his brows hard. Seeing that the wildfires are getting worse and the situation is not optimistic, some people thought of the Mecha suit recently developed. Don't they have high temperature resistance? And they are also very strong, which is better than those who use their bodies to fight in the fire. Ending this wildfire early will be good for life safety, ecological environment, urban construction, and other aspects. Moreover, we suspect that the fire started too strangely, and if it goes wrong. The other side explained some reasons in detail, but it was just one theme, which was to use people to quickly put out the fire. Forest fires are caused by complex terrain. There are large-scale surface fires formed by the burning of grass and trees on the ground, crown fires formed by the burning of trees standing high, and underground fires formed by the burning of humus that cannot be seen on the surface, 4 or 5 meters underground. Burning continuously for so many days, the core temperature can reach more than 1000 degrees Celsius. Such high temperatures are indeed not something that ordinary people can contend with. Cui Yan quickly weighed it and expressed his cooperation. No problem, I will send the mechas from the institute to cooperate in extinguishing the fire. But you may not know that there is a mecha that is not from our institute, and I do not have direct control over it. I know, it's Xingqian. Someone has already notified the Special Affairs Office. We will act together when the time comes. The person who spoke obviously had a high level of authority and knew a lot about Xingqian's situation, and said with a chuckle. In this case, Cui Yan did not say more and directly asked how to cooperate specifically. On the other side, Lin Fan and his companions finished their physical training and dragged their tired bodies into the cafeteria. Without mechas, I just can't practice. Lin Fan looked at the 4 people who were tired but still straight, and then looked at herself dragging her feet on the ground, and lamented how the gap between people could be so big. She didn't even go to order food. She found a table and lay down on it and started to mess around. The others had already understood each other and didn't call her, but went to the window to help her get food. Hey, Lin Fan. After Jiang Yu finished his meal, He saw the weak Lin Fan and walked over to sit down. "You're finishing work so late today." "Yeah." Lin Fan turned his face to the other side and complained to Jiang Yu. "Song Ren was probably in a bad mood today, and he was so cruel to me. Poor me, such a fragile body was ravaged by him." Jiang Yu smiled. She had visited their training room earlier to observe, and Lin Fan's training intensity was really nothing for professional reserve players like them. But it was not easy to say it directly, so he simply diverted her attention. "Come on, watch TV and relax." Lin Fan just wanted to complain and feel better, and she didn't really want to get comfort from Jiang Yu. She raised her eyelids listlessly and saw the news about the wildfire. The TV was reporting that the local people were united in transporting supplies to the mountain, which made people excited. Why hasn't the fire been extinguished yet? Lin Fan had seen this news a few days ago and didn't pay much attention to it in the past 2 days. Why did it look bigger today? I don't know. Anyway, the reports have been more intense in the past 2 days, Jiang Yu said. At this time, the TV switched to a long shot. In the dark forest, the burning red flames formed a clear and unique dividing line. Like a fire dragon, but also like a bloody mouth. It looks quite big. Lin Fan stood up from the table. "It seems to be nearby." "Yes, the fire is not too far from us, just in the border of the next city." Jiang Yu also frowned, looking at the camera that relied on manpower to transport supplies upwards little by little like ants moving house, and said, "It seems that there is no better way to put out the fire." She sighed. "In front of nature, human power is too small." "What are you talking about?" Li Chunhua came over with Lin Fan's meal and asked with a smile. Song Ren and the other two also sat down one by one. "Captain Song." Jiang Yu has not given up on pursuing Song Ren yet. He called people with a smile and just nodded and said hello to others. Li Chunhua was about to tease Jiang Yu when she was interrupted by Gao Fei's words. "This wildfire. I saw some not so good comments on the internet." Gao Fei glanced at the TV and frowned at the scene inside. "What comments?" Li Chunhua's attention was immediately diverted. "It's about the cause of the fire." Gao Fei took a bite of rice. "Someone posted some photos of CDs placed in the forest. They were all facing up and densely placed. So some people said that it might be." He didn't finish, but everyone present understood. "What might it be? Why don't you tell me?" Li Chunhua was completely confused. What's wrong with saying half of something? He glared at Gao Fei. Gao Fei took a few bites of rice and saw that Li Chunhua was still staring at him. He reluctantly leaned over and whispered in his ear, "Ah, there is such a thing." Li Chunhua was shocked after hearing it. "It's a rumor on the internet. I don't know if it's true or not. Don't spread it." Gao Fei specifically warned. He was afraid that rumors would arise if the facts were not verified. He deliberately didn't finish. I know. Are you still worried about me?" Li Chunhua nodded nonchalantly. "But if it's true, what are they trying to do? Just to burn a forest? In the final analysis, it's just destroying the environment and wasting public resources, right? If someone really created it deliberately, it would definitely not be as simple as just burning a forest." Gu expressed his opinion lightly. "Why?" Li Chunhua scratched his head. "Creating chaos," Lin Fan said. "Such a big fire will definitely attract the attention of most people. Then, in places where no one pays attention, many things that are usually difficult to implement will be easier to carry out." Lin Fan spoke slowly, and everyone who listened felt their hearts tighten. They watched the continuous wildfires on TV and the tiredness of the rescue workers. Almost the attention of the whole country was attracted. If someone really wants to use this fire to make a feint to the east and attack the west, it is really possible for him to achieve his goal. What should we do? Jiang Yu frowned. "We can think of it, and the people above may not be unable to think of it." Song Ren comforted. "Everyone just wait and see." His words made everyone feel relieved. At this time, Lin Fan's phone rang. The caller ID showed Director ZHU. Lin Fan was stunned for a moment. ZHU Kunjin had never called her before, but at this time, she glanced at the wildfire footage still playing on TV and had some guesses in her mind. Chapter 187 First Mission. Because she was using a Bluetooth headset to answer the call, she didn't have to worry about being overheard by others. Lin Fan continued to eat without avoiding other people. Lin Fan, this is ZHU Kunjin. ZHU Kunjin's smiling voice came from the headset, and his always smiling face suddenly became clear. Director ZHU, good evening. Lin Fan smiled and greeted. She still remembered that when ZHU Kunjin sent her to 800, he asked her to be willful and said that the Special Affairs Office was particularly protective of its shortcomings. Good evening. Good evening. Have you eaten? ZHU Kunjin asked. I'm eating. Lin Fan took another mouthful of rice without hesitation and chewed it in his mouth, not caring at all that ZHU Kunjin on the other side would hear the noise. Do you have anything to talk to me about? Yes, there is something. ZHU Kunjin wanted to say a few more pleasantries, but seeing Lin Fan was so straightforward, he didn't beat around the bush. I just received an order from my superiors, asking Xingchen to participate in the wildfire rescue operation. The specific arrangements will be made by 800, and you have to cooperate with them. You see. Okay, I know. I will cooperate well. Lin Fan roughly guessed that this was the matter before answering the phone. In fact, when she saw so many people carrying supplies up little by little, she also had the urge to go up and help. But as the main body of Xingchen, she could not go out at all without orders. When this order came out, it was exactly what she wanted. Okay, I know Xingchen's ability. It won't be difficult for you. Although the danger is not great, you still have to pay attention to your own safety. ZHU Kunjin was not a fussy person. After quickly explaining, he hung up the phone. What's the matter? Li Chunhua knew that ZHU Kunjin was the boss of the Special Affairs Office. What does your unit leader want to see you about? Their unit leader? Jiang Yu didn't understand when she heard it for the first time. Li Chunhua happily told her about the existence of the Special Affairs Office. Lin Fan didn't care and took the opportunity to eat a few more mouthfuls of rice. So Lin Fan, you are really not a soldier? Jiang Yu suddenly remembered the first dispute with Lin Fan. Yes, I'm not. Lin Fan felt a little aggrieved. I'm telling the truth. Why don't you believe it? Jiang Yu slapped his forehead. What is this? She sighed and said, no wonder you haven't worn the reserve team uniform much recently. Do you know what other people in the team said? They said that you, the eldest lady, are tired of role-playing games and finally wear your own beautiful clothes. The security department also doesn't care about you because of your family's influence. Lin Fan laughed. What does this have to do with anything? I wear the reserve team's clothes. When I came here, I didn't bring any clothes. So Song Ren borrowed them for me. Lin Fan explained, and at that time, I had to conceal my identity, so I used the reserve team seal. The security department made a fake seal for me, and they knew I was a visitor, so of course they didn't care what I wore. This is really. Jiang Yu felt that this misunderstanding was simply out of the question. Before Lin Fan's identity was exposed, nothing could be said. It's okay. The eldest lady is the eldest lady. I quite like this nickname. I feel like I'm very valued. Lin Fan laughed very happily. In fact, in a sense, she can really be regarded as the eldest lady of the base. After all, Xingchen's value is there, and everyone pays extraordinary attention to her. Seeing that the two of them were getting off topic, Li Chunhua quickly pulled the topic back to the original topic. Don't worry about the young lady. Talk about the phone call just now. Oh, nothing. Just let me go to put out the fire. Lin Fan said calmly and continued to eat. What? Let you go to put out the fire? Li Chunhua screamed. But think about it. It doesn't seem unreasonable. What about us? Gao Fei asked. I don't know. The Special Affairs Office is only responsible for notifying me. Lin Fan looked up and said to Gao Fei, but you should go too, because the director said that he will listen to the deployment of your 800 people. It's impossible to deploy only me, right? I guess you will go too. Although the performance of the bionic armor is much worse than that of Xingchen, it is much better than those firefighters who rely on their flesh. Since Xingchen is going out, the other 4 people in the same group will definitely go out together. When everyone heard this, they quickly ate and prepared for the next emergency task. Seeing this, Jiang Yu stopped disturbing him and quickly said goodbye and left. Not long after they returned to the dormitory, Song Ren and the other 4 received a mission notice to go to the place where the wildfire occurred overnight. When they went to Lin Fan's room to find her, Jin Sichin had already received the news and was telling her to be careful. Seeing several people coming in, he knew they were about to set off. Without saying a word, Jin Sichin got on the driver's seat of the tram and sent the 5 people to the gathering point. The truck equipped with 4 bionic armors was ready to go. In order to move the bionic armor more quickly, 623 specially developed the current Mecha vehicle. It looks like an ordinary van, but when the box is unfolded, the bionic machine lying flat inside can be revealed. Due to the previous inconvenience of lying down at sea, the researchers specially made a flip-fixing frame in the truck. It is used to fix the mecha in the truck when lying flat. When the flip function is turned on, the mecha can be stood up, making it more convenient for the driver to stand up and enter. In addition to these 4 trucks, there is also a medical emergency vehicle and a long van. In the medical vehicle, Dr. Zio and Wu Yi are standing at the door and looking at them. In front of another car, a thin middle-aged man is standing there waiting. Chief CUI Lee Chun-hua saluted the middle-aged man immediately after getting off the car. Song Ren, Gao Fei, and Ji Yu also called for people. Is this CUI Yan? Lin Fan looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. He was about 40 years old, with a thin face and no expression. He was a person who was not easy to talk to. He looked at Lin Fan with cold and sharp eyes. Lin Fan felt that he was penetrated by his eyes and seemed to have become a lifeless creature in his eyes. She swallowed unconsciously. Is this the legendary werewolf who sliced people? He really looks like someone who can do such a thing. While Lin Fan was looking at CUI Yan also saw the living Lin Fan for the first time. Although he had seen Lin Fan many times in the video and was already very familiar with him, CUI Yan's desire to control him surged again. Xingqian, the data that has been measured is so amazing. It doesn't matter whether Lin Fan is a human or not. As long as her ability is used for himself, she doesn't care what she is. Zhu Kunjin likes to show off to him, but what's the use? Now, Lin Fan is standing on his own territory, and Xingqian still has to be deployed by him. Even if Lin Fan belongs to the Special Affairs Office, she is now tied to the Mecha team. When several people advance and retreat together, no one would think that Xingqian is not an 800 Mecha. CUI Yan was secretly happy, but his expression did not change at all. He turned his gaze back and looked at Song Ren. Captain Song. Yes, Chief CUI. Song Ren stepped forward. I don't know if it was intentional, but his body blocked Lin Fan. There is no commander this time. The actions of the Mecha team are fully under your control. CUI Yan looked at Song Ren steadily and uttered a series of orders with his thin lips. There are 5 beds in the car, and a driver is equipped for you to rest on the way. Start working immediately when you arrive. He turned to the ambulance next to him and said, the ambulance is just in case, you know. Song Ren nodded, knowing that the ambulance was prepared for Lin Fan. In case of any situation, it is impossible for Lin Fan to get on an ordinary ambulance. The contact information of the contact person over there is in the car. After departure, you should contact him first. CUI Yan continued, the superiors require that the fire be extinguished as soon as possible. Under the premise of protecting people's lives and safety, reduce property and ecological losses. Of course, you must also pay attention to your own safety. Yes. Song Ren accepted the order and called everyone to get in the car. The headlights of several cars quickly disappeared in the darkness. CUI Yan narrowed his eyes, curled the corners of his mouth, turned and left. I met CUI Yan. Well, are you satisfied with this meeting? Vote for it. Chapter 188 Contact. From the outside, it looks like an ordinary van, but when you get inside, you will find that it is a different world, with the layout of a motorhome. The space is not large, but it has everything it should have, and there are plenty of places to rest. There is a double bed at the rear of the car, and a single extra bed on top. The table and chairs in the middle have long been lowered to form a double bed. There is also a bed above the driver's seat. It is definitely enough for 5 people to rest. There are also a lot of convenient food in the car, mainly prepared for Lin Fan. Xingqian's current standby time is stable at just over 2 hours. But after experiments, it was found that if enough food is consumed, it can also be temporarily extended for a certain period of time. Therefore, Cui Yan, who understands the situation, specially prepared so much food in the car to allow Xingqian to last longer on this mission. After Song Ren got in the car, he saw a note on the cooking table next to him. Knowing that it was the contact person Cui Yan mentioned, he dialed the number directly. Hello, hello. After a few rings, the phone was picked up. A sonorous and powerful male voice came from the receiver. Hello, this is the Mecha team of the 800 Institute. I'm the Captain Song Ren. Song Ren flipped the co-pilot back and sat down. Hello, Captain Song. The voice on the other side was obviously relieved. I'm Sen Fangyun, the commander-in-chief of the fire scene. Because the wildfire lasted for a long time, the superiors specially sent a special confidential secretary to take over the scene. Sen Fangyun, who is experienced in affairs, was sent here. He arrived at the scene this morning. After understanding the specific situation, he realized that the fire was more serious than he thought. The wildfire in the camera didn't seem to be that serious, but it was terrible at a close distance. Before getting close to the fire point, a lot of thick smoke and black fog could be seen in the city, floating in the sky. The closer to the scene, the heavier the smoke, and even the hot breath could be felt in the air. The firefighters and forest rangers on the scene were exhausted after fighting for several days. Many people collapsed on the ground, and some still insisted on continuing to put out the fire. Due to the long-term high temperature and smoke, these people were all black all over, and their original colors could not be seen. Many people also suffered from heat stroke. More and more people spontaneously participated in the rescue. However, because they had not received professional training, it was impossible for them to enter the fire scene and participate in the firefighting in order to protect their lives. At the same time, because the mountain road was rugged and the car could not go up, a large amount of supplies were stranded at the foot of the mountain. Enthusiastic citizens found an opportunity to help, and they carried the necessary things up the mountain little by little. Sen Fangyun made a prompt decision and sent a call for help to the surrounding fire departments, which was quickly responded to. However, due to the distance, the rescue forces that came did not arrive so quickly. The damn wind was getting stronger and stronger. The fire here had just been put out, and another one started burning next to it. It felt endless. The people who fought were already tired, and they just put out the fire mechanically. Fortunately, in the afternoon, some firefighters from other places arrived and began to support. They controlled the fire in time and prevented it from spreading outward on a large scale. At this time, the burning area had reached 300 square kilometers, and the fire was still spreading outward at a speed of 60 meters per hour. Although hundreds of firefighters were sent out, it still seemed like a drop in the bucket in front of such a large fire area. The water tanks carried by the firefighting drones were completely useless. In the evening, several helicopters and amphibious aircraft were dispatched to draw water from the river and spray it back and forth, which had a certain effect. However, because it took a long time in the middle, the efficiency was not very high. Moreover, as it got dark, visibility became lower, and the aircraft could not continue to operate at night. When Sen Fangyun received the order to quickly extinguish the fire, he reported the dilemma to his superiors truthfully. He said that with the current efficiency, there would be no problem in extinguishing the fire, but the speed would definitely not be much faster. However, his superiors gave him a shot of adrenaline and said that high-tech mechas would be sent to help extinguish the fire. These mechas have the ability to resist fire and high temperature, and they also have mechanical assistance, which will greatly accelerate their mobility. However, since such mechas are the product of secret research, they are still unknown to outsiders. If it were not for this fire, they would not be sent. Therefore, Sen Fangyun must do a good job of connection. When the other party arrives, disperse the people and reduce the number of staff on the scene. Minimize the number of witnesses. As the country's newest and highest technological product, for now, the fewer people know about it, the better. Sen Fangyun didn't know how powerful these mechas were, but he believed in the orders from his superiors and quickly adjusted the deployment of personnel. All local firefighters were withdrawn, leaving only a part of the foreign firefighters who had just gone up in the afternoon to continue working. At the same time, special staff were sent to build fences at the foot of the mountain to intercept people transporting supplies up. Because the reasons could not be stated directly, many people did not understand what was going on. Many people even posted videos saying that the authorities were going to give up firefighting, and public opinion on the internet was extremely chaotic. Sen Fangyuan couldn't care less. He needed to make sure that there were as few people on the scene as possible. As long as the fire was out, there was no need to worry about public opinion. In the messy command tent, he received a call from Song Ren, which was tantamount to hearing the sound of heaven for him. Commander Sen, our convoy has set off. There are 5 mechas in total, and they will arrive at the scene in 3 hours. Song Ren clearly conveyed his message. Our mechas are transported by box trucks, so at least 1.5 kilometers from the nearest parking lot to the fire point needs to be cleared. Captain Song, don't worry, we are ready. Unrelated personnel will be isolated to kilometers away. Sen Fangyuan replied, what else do you need? The specific situation of the fire, the current firefighting plan, and how we can cooperate. Song Ren said, if we communicate clearly now, we can get off the car and start working immediately, which will save more time. The 3-hour drive was not too long or too short. Song Ren asked the others to rest, and he sat in the co-pilot seat to listen to the initial cooperation intention. Sen Fangyuan was also unambiguous and quickly synchronized the data in his hand to Song Ren. Our current problem is that we don't have enough manpower. The length of the fire line is roughly estimated to be 4 kilometers. Water can't be brought up, and it's really not enough to rely on firefighters alone. We need to dig fire isolation belts faster, and we also need a lot of water to put out the fire. Got it? Song Ren nodded. My understanding is that after we go over there, we need to quickly dig a fire isolation belt on the outer edge of the fire line, and then use a lot of water to put out the fire, right? Yes, but it's not easy. Sen Fangyuan said in a deep voice, the forest fire isolation belt must be dug 40 to 60 meters wide to be useful. According to the current fire, even if we only clear the leeward side, it will be a large scale. In addition, the wind direction has changed erratically in the past few days. Today it is blowing from the north, and tomorrow it may be blowing from the south. In actual operation, it is simply too late. Not to mention water for firefighting. Sen Fangyuan thought of the situation in the afternoon, shook his head and said, in the afternoon, we used an airplane to load water from the river, but due to the load limit, we could only bring 12 tons of water in one round trip, and it was all poured out in a few seconds. Of course it is definitely useful, but it is far from enough. I see. Don't worry. Song Ren comforted him first, and then said, we need some equipment. Please prepare it for us. What is it? Tell me. After hearing this, Sen Yuanfang quickly pulled out a piece of paper and prepared to record it. An engineer shovel is definitely needed. I'm not sure about the loss at that time. Please prepare at least 20 new engineer shovels for us, attach them with fixing ropes, and place them in a conspicuous place in the parking lot. Okay, that's no problem. Sen Yuanfang showed the note in his hand to the assistant next to him, and the other party immediately nodded and went down to prepare. The engineer shovel will be there when you arrive. Is there anything else? We need a large container for water. The bigger the better. Song Ren said again. Container? Sen Fangyuan was stunned. The bigger the better? You want to use mechas to get water to put out the fire? Is there no weight limit? No. Song Ren glanced at Lin Fan, who was resting with his eyes closed on the single bed in the parking space. Don't worry about the weight limit. Please find the largest water storage container. It doesn't matter if there are some leaks. The volume must be large and can carry a lot of weight. We will handle the rest. Okay. Sen Fangyuan was a little uncertain, but still chose to believe it. I'll look for it and get back to you as soon as possible. In an emergency, there was no time for small talk. He hung up the phone and asked his assistant to find something. Container? Water storage? Bigger? Several people at the table frowned. The water tank of the plane is already big enough, but it can't be disassembled and used. And from what they said, it seems that it's not enough. Leader, I have an idea. An operator raised his hand weakly. You say? Sen Fangyuan frowned. Container, is it okay? Chapter 189 Preparation. Container? A group of people looked at each other. Can that thing hold water? Someone asked. Of course it can, but it seems like it will leak, right? Someone picked up the phone and started searching. Containers are usually used in shipping. There are two models. If the internal volume is converted into theoretical water storage capacity, the small one can hold 20 to 30 tons, and the large one can hold 50 to 60 tons. But this is just theoretical data. They said it doesn't matter if there is a little leakage. Can we find a container here? Sen Fangyuan frowned all the time. He had to know what to do before returning Song Ren's call. If the other party said that the container can be used, he must be able to allocate it immediately. You know, they are now inland, and shipping containers are usually only available in coastal ports. Yes. Someone found the information. There is a container manufacturer in the city. There should be. Contact. Sen Fangyuan ordered. Ask them if they have shipping containers. At this time, the container manufacturer had already gone off work. After several twists and turns, the assistant still contacted the boss. Leader, the boss said that they have now changed to making containers for people to live in, and they haven't produced shipping containers for a long time. No inventory? None. Sen Fangyuan asked. The assistant asked the boss again, and got a reply. Yes, there are, but they are exhibits from many years ago. They are placed at the dock. They are exposed to the sun, wind, and rain, and have long been old. At the dock. Sen Fangyuan's eyes lit up. Yes, this company originally produced containers. In order to facilitate shipping, it was built by the river, and has its own dock. The boss said that there are two samples, one large and one small. They were originally placed on the dock as advertising displays, and have never been moved. The assistant just found out. Sen Fangyuan asked the assistant to ask clearly whether they can be requisitioned. After getting a positive answer, he asked for the address and quickly called Song Ren. Captain Song, the largest container we can find now is a shipping container, but that is not airtight and will leak. Can it be used? It can be used. Song Ren nodded. He was not afraid of leaks, as long as the stars flew faster. Is it big enough? It is big enough. One can hold about 26 tons, and the other can hold about 55 tons. The two are different in size, but they are a little old, and they are still at the dock. Seeing that the other party said they could be used, Sen Fangyuan was relieved. We will send someone to find a car to transport it here. No need. Song Ren hurriedly stopped him. It's good to be at the dock. It's convenient to get water. But you need to send someone to clear the area. When we go to get the box, ordinary people can't see it. Okay, I got it. Sen Fangyuan said. Song Ren thought about it and reminded again. If it is convenient, your staff will fix one end of the container and open the door on the other side. The fixed end should be as airtight as possible. There should be no fixing screws to make sure that the container will not be torn when we pick it up. Okay, got it. Sen Fangyuan listened and took notes. Send the container address to you, right? Okay, I have sent it to you. Got it. How long will it take for the people in the fire to evacuate? Song Ren saw Ji making an okay gesture and leaned over to the notebook to look at the map. It will take about half an hour to evacuate everyone from the fire. Sen Fangyuan replied. Okay, I'll call you 40 minutes before we reach the parking lot coordinates you gave me. Please evacuate everyone in the fire scene at that time. Song Ren hung up the phone after he finished speaking and then turned off the lights in the car. There was still more than an hour left, so they could take a short break. Lin Fan had been lying on the bed for a long time without saying a word, and it was unknown whether he had fallen asleep. Gao Fei and Jiu lay side by side on the double bed made of tables and chairs, resting with their eyes closed. Lee Chun-ho was probably asleep on the bed above the driver's seat. Song Ren wanted to take a nap on the big bed at the end of the bed, but he thought that he would have to answer the phone at any time and didn't want to disturb Lin Fan, so he simply put the passenger seat down and rested like this. The car became quiet in an instant. Only the driver was awake and driving the car attentively. When there were still 40 minutes to the destination, the driver woke up Song Ren. Song Ren called Sen Fangyuan again. Everyone in the fire scene received the evacuation order. Why is this? Many people were confused. The fire had been suppressed, so wouldn't it be a waste of all the previous efforts if they evacuated now? The instructors of each fire brigade were given some information, but they could not say it, so they just ordered their team members to evacuate. Although most firefighters were puzzled, they chose to obey. But there were always one or two stubborn ones, and no matter what they said, it was useless. Evacuate now, isn't it giving up the fire? This person was actually concerned about the fire. From the perspective of ordinary people, evacuation is indeed equivalent to giving up. Superiors have their own considerations. You have to obey orders. The instructor usually admired his persistence, but now he had a splitting headache. I will never evacuate, unless you tell me the reason. To be a firefighter, there is more or less a bit of heroic thinking. This person is the same. When surrounded by such a fierce fire, he was tired and excited, and the whole person maintained a strange excitement, wanting to defeat the fire and defend the country. The instructor had no reasonable reason, and he was so dizzy that he refused to obey. What can he do? He can't just ignore it. The instructor can only equip himself and go up to catch people. At this time, Lin Fan was in the car listening to Song Ren's assignments, and his mouth was full of food. Xingqian is fast, so he will be responsible for the fire breakdown wind. Song Ren used a pen to point at 2 locations on the map, and then pointed to the arc going down. You will lead us there when the time comes. Gao Fei and I will be at one point, and Li Chunhua and Ji will be at another point. The coordinates have been sent to your eyepiece. We will dig in the upwind direction, and you will dig the remaining area along the line of fire. Everyone knew that Xingqian was strong and fast, so there was no need to be modest and gentlemanly at this time. Remember, dig at least 50 meters wide and remove all the flammable grass and vegetation on the surface. Song Ren reminded, if nothing unexpected happens, Lin Fan should be able to finish it soon. You don't need to support us when the time comes. You go here. At Song Ren's signal, Gu showed Lin Fan the location on the map and sent the 3rd coordinate to her eyepiece. There are 2 containers here. You can use them as containers and draw water from the river to put out the fire. Song Ren looked at Lin Fan. The containers should leak. You can see when the time comes. If they leak a lot, you don't have to take both. Lin Fan nodded and continued to eat. It was unknown how long this operation would take. She needed to replenish her energy and hope that the standby time would last until all the fires were extinguished. According to your speed, you should be able to go back and forth quite a lot. Even if you can't put out the fire completely, you should be able to put out most of it by then. You can pour water from the leeward to the upwind. The ground will not be easy to reignite after being soaked. In addition, with the isolation belt we dug, the fire will definitely be put out tomorrow at the latest. Today. It's already past midnight. Gu corrected. Got it. Lin Fan nodded. Song Ren then instructed the other 3. Compared to Lin Fan, their task was only to dig a fire break, which seemed easier to say, but because the fire line was long, it was not easy even with the help of the Mecha. So Lin Fan had to clear the leeward section that was most likely to burn at the beginning. Otherwise, with the speed of their bionic armor, it would be too late. This is why Mingchen didn't have enough time and had to arrange for her to dig the fire break first. Soon, the car entered the fire area. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Arrival. At the foot of the mountain, many people who were forbidden to go up the mountain gathered. They didn't know why, and they were all blocked at the intersection at the foot of the mountain. Fortunately, Sen Fangyuan found someone to clear the road in advance, otherwise these large trucks would not be able to pass. What kind of car is this? Many people asked curiously when they saw that several large trucks could actually drive up the mountain. Is it a fire truck? A rescue truck? No, the fire truck is red. This car is white. There is also an ambulance. This ambulance seems different from ours. Many people with careful observation noticed the difference. In addition to the people at the foot of the mountain, there are also many firefighters and rescue personnel, so naturally there are also fire trucks and ambulances parked. It's a high-end ambulance. An emergency worker came over to take a look and said with envy, "It is said that the facilities inside are complete with the most advanced high-tech medical equipment in the world, and small operations can be performed directly on the car." A group of people talked a lot, saying all kinds of things, and many people took up their mobile phones to shoot the car. The people in charge of clearing the way couldn't stop them because there were too many people. At this time, they more or less understood why people were blocked outside. This may be one of the reasons. In this era of information development, where people can travel around the world with a mobile phone, if they see a mecha, the whole world will know it soon. It is hard to say whether the person standing here now is special. In today's situation, which looks peaceful but is full of turmoil, it is better to keep a low profile and not let the outside world know about advanced weapons such as mecha. Otherwise, it is easy to be attacked by the crowd. The temporary command tent, where Sen Fangyuan is located, is some distance away from the designated parking lot. In addition, it is dark, so it is vaguely visible but completely unclear. In addition, Song Ren had specially instructed that irrelevant people should not come out, so Sen Fangyuan was the only one standing at the door of the tent and watching. He watched the car lights below stop, and in the shadows, there seemed to be the sound of mechanical startup. Soon, several small green lights lit up in the darkness one after another. "Commander Sen, have all the people on the mountain evacuated?" Song Ren's phone rang again. For some reason, there are still 2 firefighters who have not completely evacuated, Sen Fangyuan said awkwardly. Song Ren was in Fuguang, while tying the engineer shovel to his body. He glanced at the burning sky and said to the communicator, "No more waiting. If we run into them halfway, I hope Commander Sen can clean up for us." Sure. Sen Fangyuan said hurriedly. After Song Ren told him that he would contact him through the communication channel in the mecha, he hung up the call. Sen Fangyuan held the phone and tried to see the dynamics of the parking lot below. The small green lights were swaying up and down, and he didn't know what was going on. Then these green lights shot up into the sky. In the dark night, illuminated by the fire, Sen Fangyuan finally saw the silhouettes of several mechas connected together. They entered the fire zone lightly and quickly, and disappeared in an instant. It really can fly, and the speed is fast. Sen Fangyuan hurriedly called to urge, "Where are the 2 people inside? Haven't they come out yet? Let them come out." In the fire scene, the instructor received the urging notice, and he was helpless when he heard the obviously irritable tone. Why did this stubborn guy who usually looks so good have a donkey temper at this time? "Come with me. There are only 2 of us left in the fire scene. The higher-ups asked us to evacuate, and there are special arrangements, so we need to avoid them. If you don't leave, what will happen if you delay important matters?" The commander really wanted to hit this stubborn guy with a shovel. If it weren't for the dangerous environment here, and it was unsafe to knock him out and drag him away, he would have done it directly. What can I delay? If so many people hadn't been evacuated, how could the fire have burned here? The stubborn guy had actually fallen into a dead end, and Mandarin was already difficult to convince him. What special arrangements are there? Why can't you tell us? Is there anything that can't be known openly? How could this be a subordinate? Is he here to take revenge on him? Exclamation mark. The instructor felt like he was going to have a heart attack. What sin had he committed? He pointed at the stubborn guy and didn't want to persuade him anymore. Just as he was about to take action and subdue him with force, a dark shadow flashed by his side. The commander and the stubborn guy reflexively stepped aside, turned around and looked, and were immediately stunned. 5 mechas of different colors were illuminated by the fire, and their smooth shells reflected a cold and hard light. "Why don't you leave?" the black mecha questioned. Song Ren didn't expect that the 2 stranded people were exactly at the first landing point he ordered. The stubborn man couldn't react at all. "Didn't we give you an evacuation order a long time ago? Why don't you leave?" Li Chunhua was very angry. "Go quickly, don't affect our mission. Xingchen's transformation time is very precious, and every second counts. Xingchen will take you away first." Song Ren didn't want to delay anymore. Before the stubborn man and the instructor could react, they saw that the white mecha walked behind the golden purple mechas, raised its arms, grabbed the back of their necks, and whoosh flashed up and disappeared. Leave quickly. The black mecha urged again. Then, he took out the engineer shovel, ignored them, and quickly dug the fire break with the blue mecha. The two mechas had advanced a long way as the dirt flew. That's enough. What are you still looking at? The instructor came to his senses and patted the stubborn man on the back. Now you know why we have to evacuate, right? He was actually shocked too. The little information that was revealed was obviously not as shocking as the scene he saw with his own eyes. That is. The stubborn man stammered, unable to tell what he wanted to say. Don't ask, I don't know either. The instructor urged, okay, let's go quickly, don't delay their work. Look at their speed, there are 5 of them, and their speed is much more efficient than all of us combined. The stubborn man was no longer stubborn at this time. In the time it took to say these few words, the 2 people who were digging in front of him had disappeared. He glanced at the empty place, turned around angrily, and followed the commander. Don't think that everything is fine now. The commander breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that he finally followed him. At the same time, he said angrily, you disobey orders like this, wait for punishment. The stubborn man finally woke up. This is the end. He looked bitter, but remembered the scene he had just seen. If he hadn't insisted on not leaving, he wouldn't have been able to see such an advanced robot. Looking at the way they evacuated the crowd, there must be few people who could see it so closely. He was a little excited when he thought about it, but then he remembered that he would be punished, and his happy mood was diluted a lot. So is it worth it or not? In a blink of an eye, the instructor had walked a long way away and seemed not to want to care about him anymore. Instructor, wait for me. I know I was wrong. The stubborn man, who was completely sober, quickly chased the person in front and admitted his mistake loudly. On the other side, after Lin Fan put Li Chunhua and Jiu in the designated location, he also picked up a shovel and dug along the opposite direction of the fire line. If the stubborn guy was still there, he would have found that the speed of the white mecha was much faster than the 2 mechas he had just seen. It was really a blink of an eye, and the people were gone. When Lin Fan saw the fire with his own eyes, he realized that it was more serious than what he saw on TV. Naturally, he dug desperately, trying to shorten the time of digging trenches and save more time for transporting water. She danced with her hands, leaving after images, and quickly completed her part. Song Ren, I'm going to get water. After reporting the progress to Song Ren through the headset, he flew directly to the dock, coordinates without waiting for the other party to answer. Chapter 191 Fire Extinguishing. Only half an hour had passed when Sen Fangyuan was informed by Song Ren of the progress. So fast? He was shocked. This is only 1/5 of the progress. Song Ren said, without stopping the digging action in his hand. One of our team members went to the dock to get water. Your people should pay attention to avoid it. I know. I will ask them to avoid it after the arrangement is made. Sen Fangyuan replied. After hanging up the call, he couldn't help but confirm with the people at the dock. When Lin Fan arrived at the dock, it was easy to see the 2 containers. Maybe someone deliberately adjusted the positions of other boxes and left these 2 empty. She tried to lift them. The weight was not a big deal, but the size was indeed a bit large, and the 2 movable doors were a bit of a hindrance. She pulled with one hand and tore off the door directly and threw it aside. She carried one in each hand and filled it with water in the river next to her. The container was indeed leaking, but fortunately it could still be filled. Lin Fan flew back to the fire scene at the fastest speed in less than 20 seconds. In such a short time, very little water leaked. Sen Fangyuan watched in the sky in the distance. A barely visible mecha dragged 2 huge containers and poured water down with ease. In an instant, nearly 80 tons of water poured down. The fire was hit by the huge water flow and suddenly subsided. I don't know if it was his illusion, but the sky that was illuminated by the fire didn't seem to be that red. Seeing that it was effective, Lin Fan didn't care about taking a break and flew back to the river with 2 empty buckets to draw water, and so on. Xingchen can deliver an average of 80 tons of water per minute. With such a large amount of water poured into the fire, no matter how big the fire is, it is impossible not to extinguish it. Commander-in-Chief. When the fire instructor brought the stubborn seed down, he saw Sen Fangyuan standing outside the tent and thought he was waiting for them specially. "Sorry, Commander-in-Chief, I brought the people down." Sen Fangyuan looked at the face behind him, which was completely black, with only 2 eyeballs showing. Angry, but unable to say a word of blame. "Go into the tent and wait for processing." Song Ren had informed the 2 men when he met them, so he definitely couldn't let them go right away. Both knew that things would not end so easily after seeing the robot, so they accepted the order calmly. After the 2 entered the tent, they heard a voice from outside. "Take a break first, wash your face, and drink some water. We'll talk after processing." Someone in the tent came to take them in, and the stubborn man who was feeling uneasy finally relaxed a little. After all, the leader's attitude was relatively gentle. Sen Fangyuan had been standing outside watching Lin Fan transport water. No matter how many times he watched, he was still amazed at the advanced technology. It turned out that in places they didn't know, technology had advanced to this point. Lin Fan was fast and the river water was inexhaustible, but the container was old after all. It was exposed to the sun, wind, and rain, and there were many aging places. In less than an hour, the bottom door of the large container, which held more than 50 tons of water, collapsed. A little bit of leakage can be compensated by speed, but it would be ridiculous if the bottom was gone. Even if the stars were faster, there wouldn't be much water left after 20 seconds. Lin Fan simply abandoned the large container and only used a small bucket to hold water. In this way, the efficiency was naturally much slower. But looking for other containers at this time would undoubtedly waste more time. Seeing that more than half of the water was gone, Sen Fangyuan regretted not finding 2 more containers as backup. "Don't worry, it should be almost enough." Song Ren and Lin Fan kept communicating with each other. They kept digging fire breaks upwind on the ground, and the fire was much smaller than before. Lin Fan could see the overall situation in the sky and estimated that there was enough time. It was useless to think about anything at this time, just roll up your sleeves and work hard. It was already past 3 in the morning, and people in the forest, in the sky, in the tent, and outside the tent couldn't sleep. Some people in the gathering place at the foot of the mountain also slept and woke up. "Hey, is the fire smaller?" The person waiting for news at the foot of the mountain nudged his companion next to him. The companion rubbed his eyes in a daze. It seems so. Half the sky was red before, but now it seems like there is only a little red. If the wildfire looked like a continuous dragon of fire before, now it is almost like an oil lamp, with only stars left. Is it out? Is the fire out? More and more people were awakened, and they couldn't believe what they saw. "It's out, it must be. But the firefighters and we have all evacuated. How did they put it out?" Someone was curious. "It always takes people to put out a fire. Have you forgotten the cars that went in before?" Someone else said. "No, what happened to the car?" "The car was covered tightly. There must be a secret inside, and we can't let us know, so we were driven out." This person's analysis was quite accurate. That makes sense. So it was the things in the car that put out the fire before. Everyone who heard it felt that it was right. It must be like this. Although everyone didn't know what was going on, they all felt that this must be the truth. They started discussing what was in the car again. After losing a bucket and the one with a larger capacity, the speed of firefighting really slowed down a lot. After more than 2 hours and 40 minutes, Lin Fan finally reached the limit of his support and could no longer maintain the state of Xingqian. At this time, there were still some residual fires that had not been extinguished. Fortunately, Song Ren and his 4 companions had already dug to the end and were about to close a gap. When the fire was lit, the 4 of them put it out. When the last spark disappeared, even Song Ren was exhausted. In order to catch up with the speed of the fire, the few people really did not dare to stop at any time, and their spirits were also highly tense. This stop naturally felt the whole body tired. However, Lin Fan, who was more tired than them, was completely unable to move. Because she had persisted for an unprecedented long time, Lin Fan felt a fatigue she had not experienced for a long time. She felt tired and hungry, and could eat an elephant. The few people who were familiar with her condition naturally knew that they could not delay, and took turns carrying her down the mountain, using the thrusters to quickly return to the parking lot. Dr. Zio and Wu Yi, who had been waiting for a long time, quickly helped Lin Fan check her body. Song Ren had already come out of Fuguang, took a bag of food from the RV, and personally opened one, and stuffed it into Lin Fan's mouth. Captain Song, is it done? Sen Fangyuan vaguely saw them coming down the mountain, but they were so fast that he couldn't see anything clearly. As the noise down the mountain grew louder and the green lights went out one by one, he still called to inquire. Yes, the wildfire has been put out, but the commander-in-chief should send someone up to check. Song Ren watched the car box where the Mecha was parked close little by little and replied, "Oh, okay." Sen Fangyuan was very happy and quickly sent someone up the mountain to inspect. Then is it convenient for us to meet now? Song Ren looked at Lin Fan who was eating, thought for a few seconds, and agreed. Okay, I'll take people up. I have a fever. Readers, please take precautions. It's better to be late. I hope everyone can get through this difficult time in good health. Chapter 192 Exposed. Song Ren thought that Sen Fangyuan was the person in charge after all, and it would be unreasonable not to meet him, and he had to wait for his final confirmation. Instead of talking on the phone, it would be better to go up directly. As for Lin Fan, Song Ren thought about whether to let her go up. Considering Jin Sichin's need for her social adaptation, he felt that there was no need to protect her specially. She would eventually integrate into the crowd. While Dr. Zhao was examining Lin Fan, others also got on the car to get some food to replenish their energy. It was not just Lin Fan who was exhausted after this busy meal. When they got off the Mecha, they also felt weak all over. Digging isolation belts and putting out fires were all pure physical work, which was much more laborious than daily travel. Several people sat next to them, eating while watching Lin Fan's examination. Lin Fan was also an old hand in physical examinations and knew how to cooperate conveniently without delaying eating. Gu took out a handbag from the RV and put a lot of snacks in it, preparing to bring it to Lin Fan to eat later. In about 10 minutes, Dr. Zhao finished testing Lin Fan and the other 4 people. After confirming that there were no problems, Song Ren led the group to climb up the mountain. At this time, the sky was already dawning. The air was filled with the smell of burning and damp water vapor, mixed with an indescribable sour smell. It will probably take many years to restore this forest. Li Chunhua walked on the bumpy road, looking at the trees on the periphery that had survived the smoke and fire inside. If it is completely restored to its original state, the preliminary estimate is that it will take 15 years. Gu added, "Does it take that long?" Lin Fan turned back in surprise, took the handbag from Gu, and slung it over his arm. "Isn't it said that a tree can grow up in 3 years? It takes 3 years for a sapling to grow into a big tree, but it takes much longer to grow into something as lush and green as this." Gu propped his chin up to the tall trees next to him. "It takes far more than 3 years. What's more, recovery does not only refer to the trees growing back, but also the entire ecological chain inside, including microorganisms and so on." "Oh, that does take a lot of time." Lin Fan nodded and tore open another small piece of bread. "So it's good to put out the fire early, reducing the area affected by the fire, and it will be easier to recover." Gao Fei put his hands in his pockets and walked slowly at the end. The few of them chatted all the way and soon arrived at a small platform. There were only a few tents on this platform. Someone was waiting outside the tent, and when he saw them coming up, he hurried over. "Captain Song." Sen Fangyuan didn't know who Song Ren was at all. He cunningly called out from a distance and extended his right hand enthusiastically. Normally, Song Ren would definitely take the initiative to stand up and shake hands with him. Sure enough, it was as expected. When Song Ren saw Sen Fangyuan coming, he took a few steps in front of Li Chunhua and stretched out his hand to shake hands with him. "Commander-in-Chief Sen." Sen Fangyuan was not tall, about 1.7 meters, wearing a regular black suit and a white shirt. He was neither fat nor thin, and looked to be in his 40s. He wore gold-rimmed glasses, his hair was waxed and combed in an orderly manner, and he looked very gentle. However, after fighting all night, his clothes were wrinkled, his hairstyle was messy, and there was a green beard on his chin, which he had not taken care of in time. "Captain Song." Sen Fangyuan successfully contacted Song Ren, and his eyes curved even more. "You have worked hard. Everyone has worked hard. coming quickly, sit down and have a rest first. The two of them entered the tent humbly. Most of the workers inside were sent out to patrol the mountains and confirm the situation. The individual staff members who stayed behind were also sent to other tents. There were a few chairs next to the table, which were specially prepared for them. Sit down, sit down. You must have worked hard just now. Take a rest. Song Ren and the others were really tired, and they sat down obediently without being humble. Among the tall and strong men, Lin Fan, who was a woman and kept eating, inevitably attracted Sen Fangyuan's attention. Just now, you were busy, right? Sen Fangyuan spoke very skillfully, asking questions without revealing secrets. Thank you for your hard work. Song Ren reported the names of several people at the right time, but did not say more, which was also an acknowledgement of Sen Fangyuan's guess. He turned around and asked about the follow-up investigation, which was also the main purpose of their coming up. Someone has been sent to check. They just entered the scene not long ago, and the news they have sent back is all good news. Sen Fangyuan smiled and poured water for the 5 people himself. The 2 firefighters we met before. Song Ren asked again. Oh, they were also sent out to investigate. This was a mistake in our work. They strongly demanded to make amends, so we let them go. Sen Fangyuan assured Song Ren, everything that needs to be said has been said. They have also made guarantees and signed an agreement. They know the seriousness of the matter. That's good. Song Ren nodded and slowly picked up the cup of water to drink tea. Lin Fan didn't care what others said and ate by herself. Ji Yu and Li Chun who were next to her helped her pass water and pack the packaging bags, and they were busy and happy. Sen Fangyuan was of course curious, but he knew that there were some things that he shouldn't ask and should keep his mouth shut. He pretended that he didn't see anything and chatted with Song Ren with a smile, saying some seemingly meaningless but not offensive words. Song Ren also answered politely and courteously. Gao Fei, who had nothing to do, could only stare at the sky outside the tent, which was getting brighter. Commander-in-Chief, something happened. A man rushed in from outside the tent. He was stunned when he saw a few strangers, then realized what Sen Fangyuan asked them to avoid. He wanted to retreat, but he felt that the matter he was going to report was extremely difficult, and he was in a dilemma for a while. What's the matter? Tell me. Sen Fangyuan knew that it was not an emergency, and his subordinates would not lose their composure. We are not outsiders here, just tell me directly. Online, look, someone posted photos of the firefighting at night on the internet. The visitor said hurriedly after getting permission. Photos of the firefighting at night. Do you mean the short videos posted by the people down the mountain? Sen Fangyuan took the phone handed over by the other party and asked, didn't I say that we don't need to worry about those? After confirming that the fire has been put out, we will unify the public opinion, and these are not a problem. Earlier last night, when he drove people down the mountain, he had seen those videos and remarks. They were all speculations and oppositions. Now that the fire has been put out, it doesn't matter what those people say. No. It was taken later. The staff member was a little confused in his anxiety. Sen Fangyuan looked at the phone and found it was locked, so he handed it back to the staff member to unlock it. Are those short videos of the trucks coming in? I've watched them too. They can take them if they want. They're just taking pictures of the shell anyway. What else can they take pictures of besides the license plate number and the driver? He said nonchalantly. He'd watched those short videos too, but didn't capture any actual content. Even if there was a license plate number, ordinary people wouldn't have the authority to check it. Don't be afraid. No. The staff member unlocked the video quickly. It's a picture of Mecha putting out a fire. It was captured and posted online. It's going viral now. What? Sen Fangyuan smile disappeared instantly, and he snatched the phone. On the phone was a picture with a strong sense of impact. The picture formed a clear boundary from the upper right to the lower left. The upper half was a sea of red fire, and the lower half was a background. The silhouette of Mecha was clearly visible in the center of the picture, holding up the shovel in its hand, and posing a beating posture. This photo has a sharp contrast in color and a strong saturation. Just from the picture, it has a very strong visual impact. Coupled with the sensational title, more than hundreds of thousands of people have liked it. Clicking on the comments, some praise the picture, Some said it was photoshopped, and some discussed the origin of the robot. All kinds of opinions mixed together, but none of them could hide one fact: the mecha was exposed. Chapter 193 Countermeasures. Song Ren and the others quickly stood up. Lin Fan stopped eating and surrounded him. It's Jin Gang. Gu easily recognized the mecha from its golden shell that reflected the red light. Is it real? Sen Fangyuan had never seen the mecha up close and couldn't recognize it at all. He had some fantasies in his heart, wondering if it was a fake picture photoshopped like in the comments. But Gu's words shattered his hope. It's real. This should be the last fire. The stars were not extinguished. We fought the fire separately. Jin Gang was at the outermost edge at that time. Gu pointed out Jin Gang's position at that time to Sen Fangyuan on the map and pointed out the positions of the other people. They might not be photographed because they were far away from the person taking the photo. Otherwise, it would be worse. And Jin Gang was photographed because he was at the outermost edge and close to the person taking the photo. How did this person get in? Sen Fangyuan was furious. It was okay to be seen by two firefighters up close. After all, he was considered an insider of the system. This place was seen by unknown people, and photos were left. This kind of mistake is simply unforgivable. Commander-in-Chief, this is a forest after all. The staff explained anxiously. The forest is boundless. The temporary fences are guarded by people. But if someone deliberately bypasses these fences, they can also get in. But no one thought that someone would. Go check. Go and find this person for me. Sen Fangyuan's gentle face suddenly became a little hideous. These bastards dare to post anything. Immediately. Find this person for me. The staff hurried out. I'm sorry, Captain Song. It's my job that I didn't do. Sen Fangyuan looked at the few people and was ashamed. Song Ren didn't say anything, but Gu reminded Sen Fangyuan. Didn't many people say that this was a fake photo? It was photoshopped? Sen Fangyuan was stunned for a moment, and then reacted quickly. Well, this is a way for good people to compete for traffic, and they dare to post photoshopped photos. We will talk to him properly, and let him realize his mistakes in time. Seeing that he was so reasonable, Gu nodded and didn't continue. Song Ren didn't say much, but his face didn't look good, and it was obvious that he was in a bad mood. Lin Fan sat back in his chair and ate. Everything seemed to be the same as before, but Sen Fangyuan knew that it was very different. He quickly contacted the patrolmen on the mountain and asked about the patrol status of the drone. The news he got was that the fire had indeed been extinguished. Okay, since it's alright, we should leave. Song Ren nodded and stood up. It's almost dawn. Even if there are still residual fires at this time, it's not convenient for us to take action. Yes, in this situation, it's really not suitable to trouble you again. Sen Fangyuan's attitude was very humble. Although I personally want to keep you for a while, in this situation, it's safer for you to leave first. The two exchanged a few more pleasantries, and Sen Fangyuan expressed his greatest apologies. He sent the 5 people back to the car all the way, and then waved goodbye. When the car drove away, his face was gloomy, picked up the phone, and issued a series of orders. There were many people who saw the photos at the foot of the mountain. Some believed it, and some didn't. Seeing the truck slowly drive out, they were all curious to find out what was going on. But most people were persuaded to leave by the staff who were maintaining order. Gradually, a voice came from the crowd. Such amazing scientific research results cannot be known to foreign devils, otherwise something big will happen. This word did not know where it came from, but it became more and more popular. Most people quietly made way for the vehicles to pass quickly. Even if a few people were still curious, they were stopped by the people next to them. Which of the people who can come here to volunteer does not have a patriotic heart? Sen Fangyuan took advantage of this and properly guided public opinion so that the people remained silent spontaneously. In the truck, Lin Fan leaned on the window and looked at the onlookers outside openly. They were squeezing us just now and not letting us go. Why did Moses split the sea suddenly? She muttered curiously. Yeah, I'm curious too. Lee Chun-ho was next to her and leaned on the window to look. Special vehicles like this are all covered with special shielding films, and the outsiders can't see inside at all. But the inside can look outside without any scruples. It should be what the commander-in-chief did just now. GU types quickly on his notebook with both hands, collecting the latest information about the photo. That person has a strong comprehension and is a talent. Captain Song, should this matter be reported? Gao Fei asked worriedly. Although it was characterized as a Photoshop incident and there should be no serious consequences after handling, he felt uneasy about Jingang being exposed to the public in such a sudden way. It has been reported. When Song Ren saw the photo for the first time, he immediately sent a message to the communicator on his wrist. At this time, the institute was probably busy. Do you want a hacker? Lin Fan suddenly turned to Song Ren and asked, I know a hacker. I heard that they can remove the photos from the internet without leaving any traces. You also know a hacker? Li Chunhua was surprised. Aren't Lin Fan's interpersonal relationships simple to the point of being crude? Jiyu and Gao Fei also looked over. Yes, the hackers of the Special Affairs Office. Lin Fan was referring to Wang Fengfeng, of course. They have a special hacker department, and they are very skilled at doing this. Ah, the Special Affairs Office has hackers? Li Chunhua was shocked. Aren't they studying non-natural sciences? Ever since John Woo told him the story, the Special Affairs Office has changed from a place studying weird things to a place studying non-natural science events. The entire level has risen a lot. Yes, non-natural is a traditional business. They have also developed new businesses and weapons research, but it's not as conventional as ours. Lin Fan said to him. We are not conventional either. GU interrupted from the side. Gao Fei wanted to continue asking about the Special Affairs Office, but seeing that the topic had deviated from the direction, Song Ren pulled them back in time. Don't use hackers. Hackers will do bad things instead. Song Ren first rejected Lin Fan's proposal. Why? Lin Fan didn't understand. She walked slowly to the dining table bed and sat on the bedside next to the backrest. She took another bag of snacks and opened it to eat. Yes, why? Li Chunhua also didn't understand. Wouldn't it be good if the hacker removed the picture? Gao Fei didn't understand either. He looked at Song Ren and waited for an answer. There's a saying that the more you try to cover up, the more obvious it becomes. GU collected comments on the internet and said, yes, if the picture is removed, it will really be the more obvious it becomes. Song Ren nodded. At least it can't be removed before the person who posted the photo changes his words. Because after it's removed, everyone will think that the photo is real, right? Gao Fei also reacted. Why do people think it's real after it's removed? Li Chunhua felt that it was really hard to talk to these people sometimes. Now some people say it's photoshopped, right? Lin Fan understood and explained patiently. With so many different opinions, no one can tell the truth from the false. But if the official removes the picture, it's equivalent to telling everyone that this is real. Don't say anything. Ah, so that's the case. Li Chunhua also understood. Then what should we do? We don't have to do anything. Take a rest and go back to the institute. Song Ren didn't worry about the follow-up. We have to trust Sen Fangyuan and the institute. Specialized things should be given to people who are good at it. Chapter 194 Clarification Video. When Lin Fan and his friends returned to 800, it was already daybreak. Because they had eaten a lot of food on the way, they were not very hungry, but they felt quite tired. The exhausted people decided to go back to sleep first. After a nap, they woke up in the afternoon and the sun was about to set. The 5 people with empty stomachs teamed up to go to the cafeteria to find food. As soon as they sat down, they saw Jiang Yu rushing over in a hurry. What's going on? She showed Lin Fan the screen of her mobile phone with a nervous look. Why is it on the hot search? Lin Fan glanced at it, and it was indeed the photo of Jin Gang. She pulled her mouth, not knowing what to say. You saw it too? Li Chunhua came over with Lin Fan's breakfast. I saw everything. Everyone saw it. Okay. Jiang Yu said in a low voice, if not so few people knew your true situation, you should be surrounded by people now. Li Chunhua looked around, and sure enough, many people in the cafeteria were holding their mobile phones and talking, and they could vaguely see that the mobile phones were full of the troublesome photo. He sighed helplessly. I really didn't notice when I was photographed. At that time, they were busy putting out the fire. Who would have thought that someone would hide in the dark to take pictures? It's okay, don't worry about it. Song Ren came over, patted Lee Chun-ho on the shoulder, and comforted her. Captain Song. Jiang Yu saw his beloved, and greeted him with a smile. Song Ren nodded, and sat down to eat. What should we do now? Jiang Yu nodded to Ji Yu and Gao Yu behind him, and asked again. Nothing, wait for the result. Gao Fei saw that Lee Chun-ho was in a slump, so he answered for him. Captain Song has already reported it. Let's see how the higher-ups deal with it. Anyway, we can't do anything now. If it's on the hot search, won't there be a lot of people watching it? Lin Fan asked. Isn't it? Jiang Yu tapped on his phone and handed her the ranking list with the word hot on it. It was reported in the early morning. The sun hasn't even set yet, and it has been ranked first for a long time. Several people came over to take a look, and mech firefighting was ranked first. Then followed a photo caused a war of words. How far can technology develop to make mechas? Wildfires are extinguished. Likes for firefighters. Fake photos are trending. Below are meteorites suspected to have fallen in City X. New fluctuations in housing prices. Divorce rate hits a new high. And other news that look so familiar that you don't want to click on them again. So many people. Lee Chun-ho opened her eyes wide, looking at the tens of millions of likes and millions of comments. Yes, there are basically 3 kinds of voices. Jiang Yu clicked into the comments, praise for the beauty, praise for the advanced technology, and say it's a fake picture. I have posted several comments about fake pictures, with reason and evidence, and I almost believed them myself. Lin Fan raised his eyes and glanced at Jiang Yu. In his impression, this young lady didn't seem like someone who would tell lies. I'm not thinking. Oh, that's it. Jiang Yu accepted Lin Fan's look and explained a little shyly. Of course she knew that the mecha was not fake. But the institute obviously had no intention of publishing the mecha, and it was definitely not a good thing to attract a lot of attention in this way. She was anxious, but she couldn't do anything. She could only pull the people in the group and colleagues she knew to post more anti-counterfeiting comments. She analyzed the means of fraud from various details and tried to pull the direction of the comments. I don't know if their efforts have worked. In short, the current result is that most people praise the beautiful pictures and say that they are hard work. There are equal numbers of people discussing the development of science and technology and saying that the pictures are fake. Those who say that the science and technology are advanced are full of confidence in the strength of the nation. Between the lines, we are awesome, we are great, we are awesome. Most of those who say that the pictures are fake say that science and technology have not developed to this level. It is difficult to reach this level with existing technology. Otherwise, Iron Man would not only appear in movies, but the United States would have appeared long ago. Then, I don't know when, the dispute began. Why can't the United States exist without us? Is your butt crooked? Do you love your country? Are you a traitor? Hundreds of thousands of people are arguing in the comment area and are about to fight. Just by looking at the text, you can feel the anger of the typist. Seeing that the verbal battle was in full swing and there was no result, someone called the person who took the photo to speak out whether the photo was real or fake. These people. Lin Fan watched Jiang Yu's finger slide down little by little, flipping through the comments, and suddenly sighed. They are really idle. After that, he was no longer interested and just ate his own meal. Isn't a full plate of food more attractive than those meaningless Chinese characters? The others looked at it for a while and stopped looking at it, thinking it was boring. Only Lee Chun-ho, after all, was his own fault. The more he looked at it, the more worried he became, and the more uncomfortable he looked at it. He inadvertently took Jiang Yu's phone and kept swiping it himself. Jiang Yu didn't care anyway. Anyway, she didn't have anything to do later, and it was just an excuse to stay with Song Ren for a while, so why not? When Song Ren was almost done eating, he saw that Lee Chun-ho hadn't touched her meal and was still holding her phone and swiping it, so he wanted to remind her. As soon as he opened his mouth, he saw Lee Chun-ho's face full of joy, and he put the phone in the middle of the table. It's clarified. It's clarified. Several people gathered around to take a look. On the pop-up box above the phone, it was clearly written, the author of the Mecha firefighting picture apologized and admitted to forgery. Jiang Yu clicked on it, and instantly turned to a small video. In the video, a young man with black framed glasses was sitting upright. He looked to be in his 20s, quite young. He looked a little haggard, and his hair was neat but messy, as if he hadn't rested for a long time, and he suddenly took care of it for the sake of being on camera. His eyes were also a little red, and heavy dark circles could be vaguely seen under the black framed glasses. Hello everyone, I'm the person who uploaded the Mecha firefighting picture. The man spoke in a crisp voice, with clear pronunciation, but his throat was a little hoarse. My original intention of uploading pictures was to gain traffic, become an internet celebrity, and thus make a lot of money. So I used improper means. After taking pictures of the fire scene, I did additional processing to attract more traffic. Sure enough, it became popular all of a sudden, after I posted it. At first I was complacent, but in the afternoon, the comment section had gradually turned into a battlefield. Later, things gradually got out of control and caused an online war of words. He paused here. I originally wanted to post a different picture to attract people's attention, but I didn't expect it would cause such a bad impact on the internet. My backstage was also flooded with private messages. There were more people scolding me than asking me to clarify. I felt very uneasy. This was not the result I wanted. After thinking about it, I decided to come out and clarify to calm down this war of words. In fact, if I said it was true, the traffic would be greater, and I might become famous in one fell swoop. But I would feel guilty. So after careful consideration, I solemnly declare that the picture of Mech firefighting was photoshopped by me. This is all my fault. Please stop arguing and keep the internet clean. I apologize to everyone again. The content of the video is not long, but the meaning is clear. Huh. That's good now. Lee Chun-hua finally breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 195 Second Generation Bionic Armor. This statement, was it written specifically for him? Gu raised his eyebrows. What did you say? Gao Fei asked. It's vague and ambiguous. Most people don't talk like that. Lin Fan nodded. Isn't it clear? Lee Chun-hua didn't understand. Isn't it saying he faked it? He just said that the photo was photoshopped, but he never said from beginning to end that he photoshopped the Mecha in. Song Ren said, adjusting the light is also considered photoshopped. Then why not just say that the Mecha was photoshopped in? Lee Chun-hua didn't understand why such a sentence was made so complicated. Lin Fan smiled. It's to pave the way for the Mecha to appear in front of people in the future. When you look back at this then, you won't be able to find fault with it. Otherwise, by then, there will be public opinion saying that someone forced him to speak. I guess there will be comments now. If you don't believe me, just look. Gu raised his chin. Jiang Yu had already clicked on the comments to read them. In just a short while, there were thousands of comments, most of which were insults. All kinds of insults from all over the world, gathered together in an instant. Lin Fan also learned several dialects to insult people. Look, here. Jiang Yu pointed to a comment. This person said, did the host of this post get kidnapped to post this? If so, just blink. He flipped through a few pages. Here too, it feels very vague, not sure. It seems like it could be true or false. Among the many abusive comments, there would be one or two different comments like this from time to time, but most of them were swept away by the torrent of abusive comments and quickly disappeared. Will this person be accused of depression? Lin Fan was a little worried. In just a short while, there were already tens of thousands of comments. It shouldn't be. Gu replied, black and red are also red. They just want traffic, and it doesn't matter whether it's positive or not. Really? Lin Fan frowned and looked at Song Ren. Song Ren nodded and said, there is such a saying. But you don't have to worry, he will definitely be under Sen Fangyuan's nose in the future. If something really happens, Sen Fangyuan will not ignore it. Lee Chun-hua was not so worried after the big stone fell from his chest, and he ate cold rice with big mouthfuls, just not letting him go. This man was obviously brought out by someone, and I don't know what means were used to shoot this video. Judging from the reaction time, it is more likely that he is in Sen Fangyuan's hands. But no matter which part he falls into his hands, he can't return to his previous unrestrained state after he witnessed the situation of the Mecha with his own eyes. It may not be a detention, it may be surveillance. After all, he is an ordinary citizen, different from us. Song Ren said, people like them may not be able to strictly abide by the confidentiality agreement they signed, and the possibility of leaking the secret is very high. Are the two firefighters also? Lin Fan thought of the two people he saw at the fire scene and asked, will they also be monitored? I don't know about this. After all, firefighters are different from ordinary people. Song Ren shook his head and said, anyway, Sen Fang Yuan will handle it. But this ordinary person will most likely be kept under his nose. That's really uncomfortable. Lin Fan pouted, stood up, and ran to the window with an empty plate to get food. Song Ren looked at her back, and lowered his head to finish the leftovers on the plate. Li Chunhua, on the other hand, put her mouth to the plate, and ate it up. When Lin Fan first came, he and Song Ren monitored her 24 hours a day. Who is she talking about when she said she was uncomfortable? Could it be that she knew? Li Chunhua's heart just put down and then lifted up again. However, according to his careful observation later, Lin Fan was no different from before after he came back from getting food. Well, it should be a sigh for that damn bastard. Lin Fan is so kind. After figuring it out, Li Chunhua instantly felt relieved. Gu had finished eating a long time ago. He stood by and watched Li Chunhua's expression change from time to time, silently. People who can guess what they are thinking by looking at their faces are really simple. The photo storm passed so lightly. The next day's hot search list was a new round of news. Li Chunhua flipped through his mobile phone and couldn't find any news from yesterday. He couldn't help but wonder if his memory was wrong. In fact, nothing happened at all. He asked Gu for confirmation and got a positive answer. You remember it right, there was such a thing. Then why can't I even find its shadow? Li Chunhua didn't give up and continued to scroll down. In this fast food era, everything comes and goes quickly. Gu looked up from inside the brain and said to him, besides, after the confession video fermented last night, the authorities must have taken action to clear the pictures. It's normal that you can't find it. Okay. When Li Chunhua heard this, there was no need to look for it, and he threw his phone away. Anyway, it's all in the past, why bother with it? Only Gao Fei felt a little uneasy in his heart. But as time went by, nothing happened, and everyone seemed to have forgotten the Mecha photo incident that went viral some time ago. Gao Fei's heart, which was a little hanging, finally let go. Several people still maintained their daily training. The standby time of Xingqian can also be stabilized at 2.5 hours. 623 recently proposed a new idea. Didn't the bionic armor only make 4 finished products because of the scarcity of 818 materials? However, a living person cannot be suffocated to death by urine. If there is number 818, will there be no new mecha? That's definitely not possible. So after discussion, the researchers decided to reduce the performance of the bionic armor, reduce the beautiful appearance, and reduce unnecessary decorative structures to reduce the weight of the mecha. Don't think about comparing the strength with the first generation bionic armor like Fu Guang, just make it the strongest with existing materials. So, under Zhang Zhaoji's design, the appearance of the second generation bionic armor became a bit similar to Iron Man. The angular outer armor was all rounded, and even the beautiful pointed feathers standing high on both sides of the helmet disappeared, leaving only a round helmet-like head. Because of the reduced strength, the first generation opening and entry method can no longer be continued. Instead, it is worn by a robot, and the front and back parts are locked together. In terms of energy, batteries are still used, and the solar energy function of 818 is absorbed, and solar panels are added. From the results, it is undoubtedly a technological regression. But if you don't compare it with Fu Guang and others, it is still successful. The appearance is not ugly, but it can't be compared with the first generation. There is no way. After all, the first generation bionic armor is equivalent to being stripped from Xingqian. But, after the second generation sample was successfully produced, although the performance is not as good as the first generation, it is much better than similar products. After all, it is completed by subtracting the template of Xingqian, plus the bonus of Xinglan intelligence system. In other words, within 800, as long as the 5 mechas of Xingqian are left out, the newly released second generation bionic armor directly beats other products of the same latitude. The reduction in performance also means a reduction in the requirements for the driver. Lin Fan went up to try it, and it was able to move barely. So after reporting to the higher authorities, the second generation bionic armor team was ready to be formed. The Mecha team that Cui Yan had envisioned at the beginning took another step forward. Chapter 196 New team member. Recently, when Jiang Yu has nothing to do, he would run into Lin Fan and the others in the cafeteria. After all, other occasions are not suitable for chatting except for eating. Our group is going to select a driver again, did you know? Li Chunhe asked Jiang Yu with a wink. I know. Jiang Yu took a bite of the food and replied, many people in the reserve team know about it, and they are very enthusiastic about signing up. You had several training sessions outside a while ago, and many people saw you, and were fascinated by you. Then they will be disappointed. Li Chunhe laughed. This time the second generation A is different from our first generation. Different? Jiang Yu was stunned. How is it different? Li Chunhe scolded her. If they came for us, they would definitely be disappointed. That's not necessarily the case. Jiang Yu smiled and said, you think it's bad, but in our opinion, it's already very good. I almost thought about changing groups at that time. Hey, to be honest, I thought you would actively apply for a transfer. Why did you only have the thought? Li Chunhe really thought so. After all, Jiang Yu had been in frequent contact with them recently, and it was obvious that he had not given up on Song Ren. Moreover, she knew about Lin Fan. From the perspective of confidentiality, it was actually the safest to bring her to her own team. I thought at the time, if I was transferred to your team, I would be trained to death under Song Ren. Jiang Yu had seen Song Ren training Lin Fan with her own eyes, and she still remembered it vividly. Of course, Lin Fan's physique was not very good, but her identity was also a national treasure, right? Song Ren usually even helped her tighten the cap of the water bottle, and he wanted to carry her away. Even so, he was still ruthless when training her. She didn't think she was more important than Lin Fan, and she felt that at the moment. Although there was no great progress between her and Song Ren, the overall atmosphere was still on the rise. But if she was under Song Ren, it would be hard to say anything except training. Besides, if Song Ren saw her training in a mess every day, it would probably be even harder to attract her, right? The main thing is that I'm used to the Mecha here quite well. If I suddenly ask for a transfer, I'll have to find someone to fill my position. Forget it. It doesn't matter where I go. Jiang Yu thought it was good now. Seeing Song Ren coming over with a plate, he immediately looked over with a smile. I thought you wanted to get the moon first, because you are close to the water. Li Chunhe turned back following her gaze, and when Song Ren found out, she quickly turned back and whispered. Forget it, I was close to the team for 2 years, but I didn't get it. Jiang Yu complained. He doesn't like me and Lin Fan. I even have some doubts. Does he not like women? The last sentence was said in a very low voice, and Li Chunhe almost spit out his food when he heard it. As soon as the words entered his mind, he couldn't help but start to diverge. Jiang Yu is recognized as the team's flower. Beautiful, generous, capable, good at business. Many people in the team are interested in her. If he didn't have a wife. No, he only loves his wife. Lin Fan's image has changed a lot recently, and no one would refute if he said he was beautiful. Plus, she always wears beautiful flowery clothes among the uniformed party. With her slender figure, simple makeup, and independent personality, she is simply a model of mature women. Although she tells some unfunny jokes from time to time, it is also a proof of her cheerful personality. The boss did not show any obvious preference for these two people. Does he really not like women? No, their ex-girlfriend. They were very loving before. But the boss was cheated. Did he start to dislike women from that time? Jiang Yu watched Li Chunhe's face change from time to time, and she found it very funny every time, and she never got tired of watching it. Seeing Song Ren walk to the table and sit down, she grinned at him. Captain Song. Li Chunhe shuddered all over, pulled away from his thoughts, and subconsciously looked at Song Ren with sympathy. Song Ren didn't need to think too much to know that he must be thinking about something strange again. Thinking carefully, it seems that I haven't practiced Li Chunhe well recently, so I'll arrange extra practice in the afternoon. After making a happy decision, Song Ren smiled warmly at Li Chunhe and lowered his head to eat. Gu looked at the big fool who didn't know what he was about to face and bowed his head in silence. It was simply unbearable to watch. Lin Fan and Gao Fei felt that it was good not to know some things, at least they could be happy for a while. After Li Chunhua went through the extra training, she was indeed stable for a while. But soon, a new task came again. The pilots of the new team were selected, a total of 6 people. Special training is required. There will be a special researcher to teach them theoretical knowledge, and they need experienced old team members to lead the on-machine training and practical operation. Although the shell of the second generation A has been streamlined, it is similar to the operation of the first generation A, and most of the functions are almost the same, and even simpler. So after the division of labor, Song Ren was responsible for formulating a physical training plan for the newcomers, and Li Chunhua, Gao Fei, and Gu each led 2 newcomers to train practical operations. Lin Fan didn't get involved, and she couldn't get involved either. Even though there were 6 more pilots, she was still the weakest one. Theoretical knowledge, let's not talk about it. So the new team members saw the special treatment of the young lady up close. When they were in class, she didn't have to go. Even if she went there occasionally, she would do her own thing, lecturing non-stop, and no one said anything. When they were training on the machine, she would eat, drink, play, sleep, play guitar, watch movies, and do whatever she wanted in her lounge. When training, the eldest lady was quite hard, but the intensity. The test site of the second generation armor was not in the same place as the first generation armor, so for a long time, they didn't know Lin Fan's true identity. Since they were colleagues in the same group, everyone understood the principle of prosperity for all, and even if they didn't like it, they couldn't say it to others. Moreover, they found that in the 623 group, not only Song Ren and others, but also the others from the team leader to the loader, were particularly affectionate to her, and almost all revolved around her. Could she really be the daughter of the leader surnamed Chen? The 6 people whispered, and the complaints within the team turned into discussions. Some people even hesitated and suggested whether to change their attitude and just follow the crowd. No one agreed, always thinking that this was too flattering and lacked integrity. They want to be iron-willed new age mecha pilots. This idea lasted until one day, when they accidentally saw the star change, and then it came to an abrupt end. Later, needless to say, the 6 people also automatically joined the army of protecting Lin Fan. In September, 800 sent a notice. The general idea was that there were many successful projects recently, and the results were also very good. The superiors attached great importance to the research results, and were preparing to come for inspection. Because there are many mecha products, they plan to hold a small review on the training ground, to show the normal movement of various equipment. As soon as this news was sent out, it immediately caused a commotion. I heard that it is to prepare for the celebration next month. Gu said during the meal. The new team members now often eat with them. 11 people sit on both sides, and the old team members are in the middle. 70th anniversary celebration? Is it a military parade? Li Chunhua had heard about the celebration news a long time ago. It's possible. Gao Fei guessed. I feel that, if we perform well enough, we can go to the celebration and participate in the military parade together. There are many columns in the military parade, including tanks, planes, and missiles, all to show the hard power of their country, so it is normal to have mechas, right? If they could appear in public in front of the whole nation, they would no longer have to worry about being exposed. Seeing that Song Ren did not refute, everyone knew that it was probably true. They were all full of energy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Mutation. Everyone was holding back their energy, wanting the big boss to see the best control status. Everyone was busier than before. Not only the daily control training, but also the formation combination and marching change. This was a fixed training item required by the higher-ups. When this item came out, everyone knew that it should be prepared for the celebration, and they trained even harder. Although the second generation team of 623 was not as good as the first generation in terms of mecha performance, they were unwilling to admit defeat and wanted to compete with the first generation predecessors in Q training. Anyway, the whole 800 Institute was in full swing, and even the cleaning lady worked harder than before. Except for Lin Fan. She was probably the most idle person in the institute, doing what she usually did. Compared with the busy team members, she was so leisurely that she naturally attracted another wave of curses. It was not that she was unwilling to participate in group activities. It was decided by the upper level, because of the unique properties of the stars, it was better not to publicize it. Arrangement from the big boss. After reviewing other technological products in the morning, they will go to the underground fortress to meet Lin Fan alone and inspect the status of the stars. Pangu also needs to be checked separately. He has not yet reached the stage where he can be announced, but the degree of completion is relatively high. Therefore, the big leader will also go to Pangu to inspect after meeting Lin Fan. This has resulted in Lin Fan being relatively free now. The days pass quickly in hard training, and in a blink of an eye, it was the day when the big leader came to inspect. Everyone was very excited. Lin Fan was a little nervous because of Li Chunhua's fidgeting. Gao Fei couldn't stand it anymore, so he held Li Chunhua and said, "Brotherly, stop shaking, it makes me uncomfortable." "Oh, isn't this what it is?" Li Chunhua scratched his head and smiled foolishly. "We can see the big leader up close. It's really, heh. That will have to be in the afternoon, underground. In the morning, we just lined up to welcome and saw a leader's car on the side of the road. There's no need to get excited so early, right?" Jiu touched his head. "Yeah, I understand. Li Chunhua smiled like a fool, and after a while of silence, he started to sway again. Forget it, a few people didn't care about him, and simply turned their eyes away. When the time came, Lin Fan led the large group to line up, and waited for a long time, and finally waited for the leader's car to arrive. A group of people cheered, and held flowers high above their heads, swaying constantly. Although he was not short, Lin Fan, who was standing in the back row, could only see arms everywhere, which was really helpless. When the arms in front were put down, only a group of backs were seen entering the office building. Okay, sooner or later, anyway, we will see them. After the welcoming ceremony was completed, Cui Yan and others had to sit down with the leader and chat. At this time, other personnel had to go to the venue to prepare for the following review ceremony. The drivers of each project team participating in the review ceremony had to get on the plane and get ready, and then the leader arrived and began the review. Lin Fan and others followed the bus to the review site. It was her first time here, so she couldn't help but look at it more. It was a place similar to a sports field, with a wide circular runway, and most importantly, a ready-made open-air reviewing stand. There were 2 decorative walls on both sides of the reviewing stand, which were quite thick, and made in the shape of fluttering red flags, as high as 4 stories, with many slogans posted on them. She followed the others to make some preparations. Along the way, she saw a lot of technological equipment that she had never seen before. Jiang Yu's team was also in the reviewing queue. They were wearing exoskeletons, and when they saw Lin Fan passing by, they all smiled and waved to her. The mechas of 623 were at the end of the team, and they were considered the last to appear. After so many days of rehearsal and training, the people who participated in the review had basically seen their mechas, and they were no longer as curious as before. With the official start imminent, no one could spare the energy to think about other things. The big leader came faster than they thought. He came to the reviewing stand almost without staying in the office building for long. There was news from the front that the big leader felt that the weather was too hot, and it was not easy for them, the drivers, to travel in the open air, so they didn't say much polite words and came directly. Everyone who heard the news was moved. Lin Fan also gave a thumbs up to the leader in his heart, and was looking forward to the meeting in the afternoon. Soon, the review began, and the team at the front slowly set off. Everyone waiting behind was quiet, and no one made a sound. Lin Fan had already stepped aside. Sometimes I have to admire these people. Jin Sichin looked at the silent long line, holding his big black umbrella to shade Lin Fan. It's really amazing. Yeah, every time I see such a scene, I get excited. Lin Fan said casually. Huh. Can you feel the excitement now? Jin Sichin turned his head and looked at Lin Fan and saw that there was no excitement on her face, so he turned back disappointedly. Before now, I should be excited too. Lin Fan smiled. I'm a typical patriotic young man. TSK, you say it, as if everyone is not. Jin Sichin also smiled. The two chatted while watching the 623 Mecha team slowly move forward. They did not participate in the review, so in order not to disrupt the overall formation, they could only watch from a distance. Suddenly, Lin Fan's face changed, and his smile suddenly disappeared. What's wrong? Jin Sichin noticed something was wrong the first time. Don't make a sound. Lin Fan ordered directly. Lin Fan had never spoken in such a tone. Jin Sichin frowned and looked over, only to see that she had a serious face and tilted her head as if she was listening. But there was a review going on in front, and the sounds of various machines, the host's voice, and the marching music mixed into an indistinguishable noise. What did Lin Fan want to hear? What did he hear? Jin Sichin was confused, but did not dare to speak out to disturb. The review team was still moving slowly forward, and it would soon be the turn of the mechanical exoskeleton to walk to the reviewing stand. The people who were concentrating did not notice Lin Fan's abnormality under the big black umbrella behind. Jin Sichin quickly thought of John Woo's previous car accident, and Lin Fan could hear the sound of a runaway truck. What happened? Lin Fan didn't speak, and Jin Sichin's brows became tighter and tighter. Suddenly, Lin Fan seemed to confirm the direction and looked up to the sky on the upper left. Jin Sichin raised the black umbrella a little to avoid blocking her view. Lin Fan stared at that direction, his brows slowly furrowed. Jin Sichin could neither hear nor see. He could not help but ask, what's wrong? What happened? Over there seems to be a sound of breaking through the air. Lin Fan felt a little panicked for some reason. How far has the queue progressed? Jin Sichin looked forward. There is still 1/3 left, and now the exoskeleton is in front of the reviewing stand. What is the sound of breaking through the air? Lin Fan was silent for a few seconds, took a breath, and said, I feel that it is very similar to the sound of the stars breaking through the air. Jin Sichin did not react for a moment, and then his eyes widened. How is it possible? You mean? Then we need to issue an early warning. Jin Sichin hurriedly turned on the communication and wanted to contact Zibishan. As soon as he dialed, Lin Fan beside him had disappeared. Boom. A huge metal collision sound came from the reviewing stand in front. It's too late. Jin Sichin gritted his teeth and ran forward. I started coughing. Every time I coughed, it felt like a concussion. My ribs still hurt. My throat feels like it was scratched by a steel wool. I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat. What a sin. I just got up from bed this morning. I haven't written anything in the past few days, so I have to work hard to write. I coughed so hard that I can't even open my eyes. I still feel cold, and I guess I have to get out of bed again. My dears, please take good care of your health. Chapter 198 Blockage. From seeing the black dot appearing on the horizon, she was sure that he was rapidly approaching the reviewing stand. It took less than half a second for her to transform into Xingqian and rush out, blocking the reviewing stand and stopping him. The huge impact caused Xingqian to take several steps back. Thinking that there were people behind her, she stopped when her heels hit the table legs. Everyone was stunned by this unexpected situation. Many people even had tinnitus in the huge roar. The green mechas stopped by Xingqian were stunned and did not react. Everyone was in a daze, except Jin Sichin, who was running behind. Lin Fan looked back, and the big leader's face was behind her. If she hadn't accurately intercepted the raid in front, the ending would not be difficult to imagine. Go. Lin Fan shouted, pushing the green armored man in front of him away, sticking to him tightly, and rushing forward. This shout seemed to break the spell of stillness. Everyone moved. The big leader's bodyguards quickly surrounded him and protected him to retreat quickly. The guards were well trained to lead everyone to retreat. Only Cui Yan grabbed the microphone from the host. He arranged for the two teams participating in the review to retreat. Most people followed Director Cui's order and left quickly. In the distance, Xingqian and the green armored man were already fighting each other. Even from a distance, they could not intervene in their speed and strength. Jiang Yu hesitated for a moment, thinking about the fragile nature of his exoskeleton, and evacuated with gritted teeth. There were also people who did not obey, such as Lee Chun-hua. He found that Xingqian was beaten, and rushed forward without thinking. The second generation pilot behind also wanted to rush forward. Song Ren, take them away. Cui Yan could see clearly on the stage. What is Xingqian's ability? This group of bionic armors can only hold her back. Pay attention, it's not a defeat, nor a draw, but just a hold. That's because Lin Fan has not been trained for long and his level is not enough. If someone like Song Ren becomes the controller of Xingqian, then, now the opponent is evenly matched with Xingqian, and there is a vague trend of suppressing her. What can such a group of people do? Deliver food. The first generation armor at least has 818 coating, and the shell may be able to withstand a few hits. The second generation has no reinforcement. Xingqian can deform their shells with a little more strength. Wouldn't it be a nuisance to go? Let's go. Help others evacuate first. Song Ren held Lee Chun-hua. It's not that he is not worried, but compared to Xingqian, who can still be dealt with at present, the scattered and unprotected people need their help more. Lin Fan rushed up to block, and the purpose of taking the other party away was not to prevent anyone from getting hurt. As teammates, they must not drag their feet. Lee Chun-hua looked back at the crowd behind him. In addition to the leaders, there were also researchers from various project teams. Everyone got on the bus nervously and orderly and evacuated quickly. Jiang Yu and some other Mecha drivers were on guard in the surrounding area to prevent accidents. But their defense is really too poor compared to bionic armor. Compared with the lives of hundreds of people and Lin Fan, who should I choose? Is there any need to ask? All of them. Follow me to escort the convoy, and enter the nearest bunker as quickly as possible. Song Ren ordered with red eyes. Yes. The team members roared in unison. Cui Yan breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Song Ren leading everyone to retreat. He was really afraid that these guys would not listen to him. He dropped the microphone and retreated as fast as he could. Only when they were all safe could they help Xingqian. On this side, Lin Fan finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that everyone had evacuated far away. He found out how difficult he was to deal with when he was fighting with the guy on the opposite side. I don't know if it's because he is one size bigger than Xingqian, but he is also very strong. Dark green outer armor, orange eyes. His height is closer to the first generation bionic armor. The appearance is different from Xingqian, but it feels very similar. Compared with the first generation armor that is more than 80% similar to Xingqian, the appearance of the dark green mecha has nothing in common with Xingqian. But Lin Fan just feels that he and Xingqian should both be bionic armor. The opponent is very strong, but fortunately he only has brute force and no fighting skills. The skills that Lin Fan practiced hard under Song Ren came in handy at this time, and he was able to entangle the man tightly. The opponent found that the target had left and tried to break free from Xingqian several times, but was pulled back by her. However, the difference in strength always existed. After struggling for a while, Xingqian was a little weak, and the opponent took the opportunity to escape from her noose and rushed to the front to evacuate the personnel. Lin Fan knew that it was not good, so he accelerated and grabbed its feet, dragged the opponent to the ground, and quickly pressed on him. The two rolled on the ground. Song Ren looked back and saw this scene, frowning. If it were usual, if Lin Fan hugged her opponent like this during sparring, he would definitely scold her mercilessly. But now, he was just worried. He knew who Lin Fan was, and this situation could only represent one possibility. She had no strength. He was anxious, but with Fu Guang's ability, he couldn't help. This feeling of powerlessness surged in his heart, and he couldn't help urging the evacuating people, hurry up, hurry up. The green armored man didn't know where he came from, and he might break free from Xingqian and pounce on him at any time. They couldn't hold them back. Seeing the leader's car stopped in front of the bunker, the leader would be safe as long as he entered the bunker. Just when everyone was about to relax, the green armored man might have also discovered this. He kicked Xingqian out with one foot. He stood up and wanted to rush forward. Xingqian used the force and flexibly jumped in front of him, still blocking his way. Lin Fan, the leader has gone in. Song Ren's voice came from the headset, and Lin Fan was relieved. Panting, she continued to stare at the mecha opposite. The leader went in, but what about this guy? It seems that she can't beat him. Fuck. An angry male voice came from the mecha opposite. Even Lin Fan, who didn't speak English well, understood this. Foreigner? She guessed in her heart. He must be a foreigner, to attack the leader right away. In addition to him, there were also people who stayed in the laboratory who thought so. In addition to the leaders and administrative staff who went up to the reviewing stand. Most of the scientific researchers who didn't want to show their heads stayed in their respective rooms to watch the live broadcast. How could there be no unmanned cameras in such a high-tech place like 800? Through the footage they sent back from the drone, they watched the rows of brand new mechas passing in front of the big leaders at the review site, watched the sudden accident, and watched the white mechas and green mechas fighting each other. They watched the crowd begin to evacuate, leaving only 2 mechas, one green and one white, fighting each other. Judging from the situation, one is good and the other is bad. But who is this one of us? People who have never seen Xingqian asked. Most people were watching the live broadcast in their own laboratories, and there was no communication connection, so the people from 623 couldn't tell everyone. Until a curse came, it reminded everyone. It seems that this big green guy is a foreigner. Can Lin Fan be cursed like this? That's definitely not possible. But given her limited English vocabulary, she could only curse back in Mandarin. Fuck you. Well, now everyone watching the live broadcast knows that the white mecha is one of us. Wow, I finally wrote this scene. The scene of the mecha saving people was my dream. I wrote so many words just for this one scene. Wow, it really was so hard to write it. Hahaha. It was not easy. Chapter 199 Piercing. 623 laboratory were not as calm as the others. They looked at Xingqian on the big screen, who could only roll with the other party in his arms, and listen to the panting sound amplified by the speakers through the communication equipment, and were full of worries. Of course, those who have been responsible for testing for a long time know how strong Xingqian's data is. Originally, Xingqian was strong enough to sweep everything, but unexpectedly, another mecha that was obviously of the same origin appeared. And it was obviously an enemy. Xingqian couldn't be defeated. What should we do? Can't Pangu be deployed yet? Zhajing asked Yu Guangli in a low voice. With their speed, Pangu can't keep up. Yu Guangli said helplessly. The giant armor has the advantages of giant armor, such as large mass, but it also has disadvantages, and its flexibility is not up to paragraph. What should we do then? Zhang Zhaoji grabbed his clothes. Xingqian is obviously not defeated. Calm down, calm down. Ke Wenbin didn't look nervous, unless you paid attention to his shaking hands. On the screen, the green armored man who was being cannoned didn't understand what Lin Fan said, but judging from his tone, it was definitely not a good word. After failing to successfully attack the target and being scolded, his emotions exploded to the extreme, and he quickly rushed towards Xingqian. Thinking that it would be another strenuous struggle, Lin Fan had already gritted his teeth and encouraged himself. Unexpectedly, when the man was about to reach Xingqian, he pulled out a spear-like object from his back with one hand, clenched his hands, and stabbed Xingqian. Why is there still a weapon? Everyone in 623 stood up. Xingqian has no weapons at all. How can this man still have a weapon? Xingqian has not evolved completely. You forgot that 818 still has a large piece in the safe. Ke Wenbin said bitterly. If I had known, I would have let her absorb it all. Yu Guangli also regretted it. Originally, they thought that according to Xingqian's current ability, their scientific research level could not keep up, so it didn't matter whether they upgraded or not. And what if something unexpected happened during the upgrade process and they couldn't handle it? So no one has ever suggested letting Xingqian upgrade again. Who would have thought that he would encounter such a strong enemy today? Lin Fan looked at the pointed weapon in front of him and retreated quickly. The weapon was about 2 meters long, with a sharp tip. It became thicker as it extended toward the handshake position, forming a slender, pointed cone shape, and was very smooth overall. In front of the hand grip, the round bottom of the cone just covered the hand behind it tightly, forming a perfect hand guard. What kind of weapon is this? Lin Fan had never seen it before, and she had no time to distinguish it. The tip flashing with cold light made her feel inexplicable pressure. She subconsciously felt that this weapon could really hurt her. Xingqian's invincibility was aimed at the current technology of this planet. What if the opponent had the same higher local technology as her? The green armored man was furious because Lin Fan had ruined his plan. How could he let her escape? He was bigger than Xingqian and stronger than Xingqian. He rushed forward and pushed his hand forward fiercely. Lin Fan only had time to use both hands to press down the tip, forcibly pressing it from the position aimed at the heart to the lower edge of the ribs. The cold metal easily pierced Xingqian's shell. Lin Fan first felt a strong sense of foreign body, and then the long-lost pain spread from the wound to the whole body. She suddenly lost strength and her feet were unstable. She could only hold the tip of the opponent's weapon more tightly with both hands. Seeing that the opponent was obviously weak after a successful attack, the green armored man was even more proud and increased his strength, nailing the opponent to the tip of the weapon and pushing forward. All this happened in a flash. Song Ren and others heard Lin Fan groan from the headset and turned around to see Xingqian being nailed heavily to the wall. The green armored man pushed the weapon forward maliciously. Lin Fan was in pain and tired, and she had to concentrate. She held the weapon tightly with both hands, trying to stop it from going deeper into her body, but because the vertebra was too smooth, it was unsuccessful. Xingqian's strength was not as strong as the green armored man, let alone now. In the 623 laboratory, everyone listened to Lin Fan's weak breathing with anxiety. They watched the picture sent by the drone. The long weapon passed through Xingqian, and the tip extended from behind the wall. Blood with dust dripped onto the ground along the part that had been penetrated. It was Lin Fan's blood. A group of tough men couldn't help but have red eyes, and some even wiped their tears. Oh my god. Who will save her? Someone trembled, but no one could answer him. Bitch. The green armored man was very satisfied with the damage he had caused. He looked at Xingqian's shaky head, almost touching her face, and cursed happily. If it weren't for this bitch running out to cause trouble. Suddenly, several mechas rushed out from the side. The green armored man was startled and wanted to draw his weapon, but he was too close to Xingqian and couldn't use it for a while. At this moment, Song Ren and the others arrived. He and Li Chunhe arrived first and used inertia to hit the green armored man, trying to keep him away from Lin Fan. But the strength of the two was obviously not enough. After being hit, the green armored man felt that their strength was not at the same level as his own and no longer took them seriously. Especially after he saw the golden shell of the Jingang Mecha, he seemed to be stunned for a while. Then he got a little angry and wanted to draw his weapon, but he found that he couldn't. He looked closely and saw that the white bitch was holding the round bottom of the handguard tightly, preventing him from pulling out the weapon. At this time, Song Ren and Li Chunhe launched another attack. Although they could not cause actual damage to the green armored man, the harassment of the two of them still caused him interference. He had to wave his hand to block it and loosened his hand holding the weapon. Gao Fei also arrived and rushed up, but was knocked away by a punch from the green mecha and flew to the ground for a long time and couldn't get up. Gu wanted to look at Lin Fan first, but he didn't care about her when he saw this, so he climbed on the back of the green armored man and hammered him on the head. But such an attack didn't hurt the green armored man at all. He lifted it hard, and Gu was also thrown into the air. Fortunately, he started to push in time and didn't fall like Gao Fei. After all, Song Ren and Li Chunhe were from the Special Operations Department before, and they had rich experience in fighting. Although the green armored man was strong and had high defense, he obviously had not received systematic training. In addition, Gu was smart and harassed them from time to time, gradually pulling the green armored man away, some distance away from Xingqian. Captain Song. The second generation mecha team arrived at this time. All the people, enter the bunker. What should we do? Song Ren didn't have time to scold them at this time and said hurriedly, keep a distance from the enemy and go to see the situation of Lin Fan and Gao Fei. The 6 people knew that they were no match for the green armored man, so they dispersed as ordered. 3 people went to Gao Fei's side and 3 went to see Lin Fan. At this time, Xingqian's head had drooped and her hands were still tightly grasping the handguard. Blood flowed down the wound, leaving a striking mark on the snow-white mecha shell, and drops of blood gathered into a shallow pool at her feet. Lin Fan had already fallen into a state of confusion, and she was in so much pain. In order to prevent the bastard from pulling out the weapon to hurt Song Ren and others, she tried hard to pull him, pulling the weapon towards her body. As a result, when the bastard let go, she lost control of the broken thing and pushed it further into her body. The pain made her lose consciousness on the spot. Lin Fan, Lin Fan. The people outside were shouting, and the people in the earphones were shouting too. Lin Fan was trapped in a deep state of consciousness and didn't want to wake up. It hurts so much. Lin Fan is in so much pain. Is there any money to stop the pain? By the way, why do so many people suddenly read my articles these days? It's so strange. Is there something going on that I don't know about? I'm still in bed, my dears. Take care of yourselves. Chapter 200. Not helping someone in danger. Gao Fei was still a little confused when he was woken up. It's not like Yufeng hasn't been thrown away by Xingqian before, but Lin Fan usually used less force. Moreover, after practicing for a long time, they are so familiar with each other that they can almost predict when she will throw and kick. They have a plan in mind and can deal with it easily. The green armored man will not give them a chance to prepare. Gao Fei was thrown out without any preparation. Despite Yufeng's protection, he was still knocked unconscious by the huge impact. As soon as Gao Fei regained consciousness, the Xinglan system immediately checked Yufeng and found that the mecha had no damage. He stretched his limbs, felt that there was no big problem, and climbed up. When he stood up, he saw Xingqian nailed to the wall. On the red flag-shaped decorative wall, the white star was nailed to the wall by a dark green spear piercing through the abdomen. This scene reminded Gao Fei of the crucifixion of Jesus. Xingqian's head was drooping, and no matter how the people in front of him called out, he didn't respond. Gao Fei was furious and instantly remembered what happened before. He stumbled and wanted to go to Lin Fan to see what happened to her. But he was stopped by the second generation armor beside him. We can go. You go to help Captain Song and the others. Gao Fei turned his head. 100 meters away, Li Chunhua was thrown away by the green armored man again. He controlled Jingang to turn over flexibly, grabbed the green armored man's forearm, and knelt on the ground. The green armored man elbowed Fu Guang and pushed him away, turned around and kicked him in the back of the knee. Fu Guang was under the force, and before he could stabilize his body, he was kicked by the green armored man and fell far away. After dealing with one side, he turned around, raised the hand held by Jingang high, stepped back, and kicked Jingang, who was about to stand up, and fell again. Jingang was kicked in the abdomen, and the huge force made him unable to react for a while. He flew straight out, fell to the ground, and rolled several times, and slid for a long distance before stopping. At this time, Gu was still riding on the back of the green armored man, constantly attacking his neck and head. Although he knew it was of little use, what if the green armored man, who had freed his hands, finally had time to deal with this annoying fly? He reached back with both hands, firmly grasped Binglan's purple shoulder armor, and tried to pull him off. Binglan used his limbs to force himself firmly on the back of the green armored man, but the opponent was too strong, and the Xinglan system issued a warning that if he continued to pull like this, Binglan's joints might be dislocated. Gu had no choice but to loosen his limbs and was smashed to the ground the next moment. He quickly turned over and tried to roll away, but he still couldn't avoid the attack, and his side waist was stepped on heavily. The pain made him curl up like a shrimp. Xingqian's waist and abdomen are not covered with outer armor, so the waist and abdomen of the first generation armor made in imitation of Xingqian are also not covered with outer armor, which is the weakest part. Although it is reinforced with 818 coating, such strength is obviously nothing for the green armored man. So Li Chunhua, who was hit in the stomach, and Gu, who was injured in the side, lost their fighting power for a short time. The green armored man grinned and wanted to kick Binglan on the ground again, but as soon as he raised his foot, he was knocked back by the mecha rushing out from the side. When he looked up, the blue mecha blocked the purple mecha. Gao Fei arrived. This won't work. Gao Fei can't beat him. Cui Yan entered the 623 laboratory, and the first thing he saw was this scene. Jin Sichen, who followed Cui Yan to evacuate, saw the scene of Lin Fan being nailed to the wall. What happened? Why did Lin Fan? Jin Sichen yelled with red eyes. The usually gentle Dr. Jin no longer existed, and his emotional management was gone. Jin Sichen rushed to the control console and looked closely at the big screen, as if he could see it more clearly this way. She's bleeding. Can't you see it? He yelled, not knowing who to blame. Looking at the older Yu Guangli, he finally grabbed the collar of Zhijing next to him. Zhijing had never seen Jin Sichen so out of control. In his impression, Jin Sichen was always gentle, calm, and decent. He was not as furious as he was now. Dr. Jin, calm down, calm down. Ke Wenbin and Kuang Li came up to pull him. How can I calm down? Jin Sichen let go of his hand obediently, pointing at the white figure on the screen with its head drooping, and it was unknown whether it was alive or dead. Why don't you do something to save her? He had clearly taken a look before entering the bunker, and it was still fine. How come it was less than 10 minutes later, and the situation was already like this? Jin Sichen's heart was pounding like thunder, and he was panting heavily. He didn't want to pay attention to these bastards. He tried to calm his breathing, and wanted to quickly regain his sanity. But when he saw the two pools of blood in front of and behind Xingchen, his whole head was still buzzing. Calm down. Calm down. Jin Sichen forced himself to close his eyes and sort out his emotions. He was no help to Lin Fan. Chief Cui, what should we do now? Yu Guangli asked Cui Yan anxiously as he walked up to the control console. They were also anxious, but they had no choice. Fortunately, Cui Yan came, which made them feel hopeful. Others also gathered around and looked at Cui Yan expectantly. Cui Yan quietly watched the picture on the big screen. Xingchen was still hanging on the wall motionless, and the green armored man had already pinned Yu Feng to the ground and beat him. The sound of bang bang continued, and sparks flew. When the metal collided, Yu Feng could only defend passively. Although the outer shell was strengthened by 818 and could barely withstand it, it was inevitable to be injured by being beaten like this. The difference in strength was too great. This fact emerged in everyone's mind. Chief Cui, can we ask the fighter jets of the flight base for help? Zhang Zhaoji saw that Cui Yan had not spoken for a long time and gritted his teeth and asked. The fighter jets have firepower and can shoot at a long distance, which can divert the enemy's attention, which is much better than this kind of close combat with a huge gap. No. Cui Yan's already cold face was now covered with frost. A fighter jet that Xingchen can easily catch up with. This man is stronger than Xingchen. He can definitely catch up. Fighter jets and flying talents are very valuable. We can't take this risk. Then is there no other way? Zhijing looked at Yu Feng, who was hit and motionless on the screen, and felt deep despair. What are the weaknesses of Xingchen? Cui Yan asked. Everyone thought carefully. If you want to talk about weaknesses, except for the long standby time, there seems to be no weakness. The anti-strike and anti-fire values are also high. They have tried it before, and the small caliber firepower equipped on the plane is useless to Xingchen. Not to mention that fighter jets cannot be deployed, even if they are deployed. It is estimated that it will be of no use to the green armored people. Large caliber firepower. No one has tried it, and they are afraid that Xingchen will not be able to resist it and something will happen. But at this time, can large caliber weapons be deployed? Ke Wenbin asked on behalf of everyone. Where do you want to aim at? Cui Yan turned around and stared at Ke Wenbin coldly. This is the research institute. If we bombard them with a cannon, how much of our institute will be left? What about the equipment? What about the people inside? Ordinary cannons are not very useful for biological armors like Xingchen. It might be useful if a destructive cannon bombarded them, but the damage area would be too large. Even if the green armored people could be destroyed, Xingchen, Yu Feng, Fu Guang, and the second generation armors that were so close would be destroyed without leaving any ashes. Not only that, a layer of the ground of the research institute would be plowed away, and it is unknown whether the fortress below would be damaged. There are many scientific and technological experimental projects in 800. If they are damaged, resulting in data and personnel being damaged, the technology will regress by decades. Your people. You only know your people. If they are not your people, you will not care about them. Jin Sichen finally calmed down and heard Cui Yan's cold words. If these eyes were not ineffective on Lin Fan, he estimated that they would not be useful on the green armored people either. He really wanted to rush out and show him. Seeing that Cui Yan could not be relied on, Jin Sichen took out his mobile phone and called Zhu Kunjin. Director, Lin Fan is in trouble. Call for help. But who should you call at this time? Who do you want to come out and save him? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.